across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, my friends, good morning. Just gone 6 o'clock. We're live across the UK. You're with the JK Breakfast Show on Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of you, the alarm clock Brit. I spent the entire weekend without my wife and without my kids, and I thought, oh, my God, this is going to be brilliant. By midday on Saturday, I was the most lonely person in the world. I cut the grass twice. I washed the cars. 0344 for cars. 0344 419 1000 is your number. If you're waking up, you're coming back on the night shift, whatever, we want your involvement. Also, your text, please, 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Going to be really honest with you, right? Very honest. We've had a week of Andy Burnham, the man with no mandate, the man who got in with a crowbar and a coup. But you have to be really honest and say that when these announcements at 6:15 are made and we pull them to shreds, and that's fine and proper and right, he is quite good at politics, I think. He's quite good at messaging. I think we'd be lying, wouldn't we? We don't have to like what he is or what he stands for, but his messaging is good. Of course, Poppy Coburn is here in a sec, just said to me something very good. During recess, there's no parliament. He doesn't have to justify to anybody, just throw it out. I was listening. I wasn't listening, but I saw this thing online. There's this left-wing morning radio presenter on a London-based radio station who patently loathes everything about this station, me, and anybody who dares to be to the right. And he was saying, you see, what will happen now is the right-wing media will attack him and they'll just go on and on about how much is it going to cost. Of course we bloody will. Because we're skint, because we all pay too much tax, and because we're all peed off with the fact that consecutive politicians have lied to us. So the messaging might be good, but I think it is absolutely justifiable, if he's not being held to account in Parliament, that stations like this say, how are you going to pay for it, Andy? Today, 6:15, this is what we expect. He's plotting a crackdown on youth sickness benefits. Brilliant. I love it. In an effort to reduce the country's £333 billion benefits bill. Brilliant. We love it. As he scrambles to find billions of pounds for spending on social care and defence. And you go, do you know what? Yeah, there are plenty of people on benefits who don't deserve to be on benefits, including, what was it today? It's discovered that teen anxiety, Jesus, pays more than a job. And nearly 75,000 statutory jobs have been lost under Labour. About 1 million kids are getting more money sitting at home saying, I'm anxious, than going to work, right? And so I go, yes, Andy Burnham's going to do something about this and he's going to spend it on defence. But the problem is this. Keir Starmer tried to knock £5 billion off a £332 billion bill, and the Labour Party said, we're not having it. So at this moment, it all sounds lovely. But is it going to work? Will the Labour Party allow it? He's also, in just his second week as PM, this could be another announcement, he's eyeing up compulsory voting, which means a £10 fine for those of you who don't vote. I can't wait to talk to Poppy about this. I think I'm going to cause a bit of trouble. Also, Wes Streeting has said, I will quit. Again, you've only been in the job a week. If the government's defence plan falls short. Which wasn't good timing, Wes. You're not great at this job so far, are you? Because yesterday the Prime Minister said, I'm not going to commit to funding an increase of 3% by 2030. So is he all at logheads? Now, a couple of things about Burnham that we should talk about. You know, number 10 North, I obviously didn't do Friday, he went... Sorry, that's my phone. That wasn't very good. It's my son. Yes, OK. So he's just... I'm out of bed on my way to work. Just check that's fine. Anyway, where was I? Manchester North, number 10 North. Lovely, arrived on Friday, didn't he? It was all great. Let me just share this with you. Within 5 days of being Prime Minister, he'd opened number 10 North in Manchester, complete with contracts, furnishing, services, security, a logo, printed signs and banners, and held his first official meeting there. And then we discovered that on May the 11th, Manchester City Council agreed to lease the second-floor Heron House. On May the 14th, Josh Simmons resigned as MP for Makerfield, and on June the 10th, before the election, of course, Manchester City Council confirms Heron House lease agreement. So it's like the bus thing. He hadn't just painted that bus overnight. Maybe he's been planning this for a long, long time. Another criticism. Did you see he went to Glasgow to the Commonwealth Games to stand next to Prince Charles, and then he flew home to Manchester? That was in a jet, a government jet. It cost 300 grand. So by my calculations, when I say mine, I mean Christian's, if he continues to fly weekly home to work from home on a Friday, that's going to cost us £10 million a year, which is great. Other stories in the news, an Albanian drug dealer will not be deported because his daughter wets the bed. I don't know what to say. Diversity and equality initiatives across the British Police, 631 million since 2020. And my favourite story, ladies and gentlemen, a taxpayer-backed arts group have announced this morning that teddy bears are transgender. At which point I leave the room and we say a very good morning to the legend that is Poppy Coburn, assistant commentator of the Telegraph, but with a sore throat. Bless you, not well.
No, I've still got a sore throat, unfortunately, which has just been hanging around. It's pretty rare to get a throat infection in the summer, but I've managed to do it. Oh,
you see, if I'd known, I would have said don't come in.
Oh, thanks.
Because we want to look after you. Can you start, or can we start, please? I thought I'd turned it off. Jesus, honestly, my son. Can we start with Andy Burnham? Do you share my... He's good at politics, isn't he?
Well, he's
better than Starmer.
He's better than Starmer. He is better than Starmer, you know, but as I said to you, the thing is, at the moment, for Andy Burnham, it's a fantastic time in politics.
Yeah.
Because nothing's happening. So at the moment, what he can do is he's at the height of his popularity because he's the new man in town. He's shiny and new. He's not associated with the Starmer regime. So all these MPs who thought, oh, God, we're going to lose our jobs, my party has been completely destroyed, now have hope again. And so he gets to make these promises because Parliament is actually not really working at the moment. We're about to go into recess, nothing will happen for 6 weeks. He gets to promise all these wonderful things that will happen later in the year. So he gets to do things like, I'm going to bring back the £2 bus fee cap. Well, and then he gets to explain the money he's going to just find down the back of the sofa. Apparently Starmer just wasn't looking hard enough for all this cash. He gets to be the person that offers people nice, pleasant alternatives to the politics that we currently have. But do I think that this is going to last? No, because it doesn't matter how good your communication strategy is. If you're telling people you're having to rise taxes again, people aren't going to be very happy.
This is the point, isn't it? Today, he's plotting a crackdown on the youth sickness benefits in an effort to reduce the country's £330 billion welfare bill, and we all go, hurrah! But Starmer tried to knock a poxy, excuse my French, £5 billion off that, and the entire Parliamentary Labour Party rebelled, and it ended up being nothing. So what, Andy Burnham's going to be able to do this, is he? Or are you telling me that those left-wing MPs are just going to roll over, are they?
I think that's completely spot on. The Starmer reform was almost pointless.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually reducing the welfare bill, it was slowing down the rate at which it was increasing.
Absolutely.
By a pretty paltry amount. And as you say, that was enough to cause a massive backbench proposed rebellion, which meant he never did another thing in his government again that would have upset the left and say, actually, we need to cut back on spending. With Andy Burnham, he's even more constrained. I mean, I think the only argument he can make is if he says to his MPs, I'm your last hope.
Well, I said this before. I said, does he not have political capital as the bloke with 400 MPs who see him as the Messiah? Would he not have the balls to stand in front of them and go, listen, I'm telling you now, if we don't do something about this, we're toast. But if we do something about this, even if you have to bite the bullet, we're going to outsmart all the other parties. I keep saying because he's in this position where he doesn't at this moment need to be challenged, if he opened up an oil field, if he announced something about the boats or this welfare, and I said it last week, and it looks like it'll happen. But will the Parliamentary Labour Party let it happen?
Well, if they didn't let it happen with Keir Starmer, he gave them their first massive majority, historic majority. Now, you can say that's because Starmer himself was a bad leader, and he certainly was. He was very, very bad at communicating to his MPs why he wanted to do the things he was doing. But listen to what Andy Burnham's new strategy is. People like him because they think he has an ideology. His ideology apparently means it's Manchesterism, which means we spend lots of money and we particularly spend it in the north of England.
Could I jump in for a reason? You'll hopefully be at home in bed. A lot has been made about Manchester. By the man who actually comes from Liverpool. Having lived there for 15 years, we thought it a great idea, and I have to salute Isabel Oakeshaw. She sent an undercover reporter to Manchester last week, and we're going to do this after 9 o'clock. Can we play a little clip at all? Have you got any little clips or not? Nobody's looking at me. Can I play one now? All right, I'll tell you what, we'll play one in this hour, but some of the clips are unbelievable. And when Andy Burnham says Manchester is the shining bauble and how we as a country should be, let me tell you, the undercover reporter was offered drugs 4 times by 4 different people in an hour. There were fights, no police, tented villages and rats the size of cats. And that is Piccadilly Gardens. When I went to Manchester 20 years ago, that was nice. It's now called Crackadilly. I'm not having a go at the bloke. I'm just saying his communication and PR is absolutely right. And you know that DJ presenter I was telling you about, who says all the right will do is look at how, knock it down and say, how's it going to be? Because of course we're going to, because this country's skint and people are hacked off having higher and higher taxes. Because you're right, in the end, how is all of this going to be paid for? Higher taxation.
Exactly, and I think that's why Andy Burnham's strategy at the moment is to just be the happy, friendly, smiley man, but the budget will come. And when the budget comes, it doesn't matter how many times he pretends that there's loads of money that you can just find by cutting this and cutting that, and, oh, we'll take a bit of money out of the net zero budget. The sums don't add up.
No, they don't.
There are too many in this country who are taking out of the state and not putting money into the state.
Which is why this attack on youth sickness benefits. But you know what? The fact of the matter is, you know, we had it last week. Let's attack homelessness. Go to where Samara Gill went, just off Park Lane, where Albanian pickpockets are allowed to stay there. I wonder how many of those sleeping rough are illegal immigrants. I don't know, but I would suggest that words are great. Just talking about Manchester, and I want you to tell your mates or whatever, hang around for this, because this footage after 9 is unbelievable. Christian's done a great job. This isn't my Christian, this is another Christian. This is a clip of him speaking to a homeless man. Have a listen.
So how come you found yourself homeless?
My mum died,
right,
and I couldn't take over the property.
Right, okay.
Because it was a mortgage.
So have you tried to seek any help at all?
Yeah, I'm waiting for a property now.
And you've been waiting for 2 years?
Yeah, it's a 2-year waiting list for this place I'm going.
So you've been sat here for 2 years waiting?
I've been on these streets for 2 years.
Wow, wow.
And I've got 3 months left before I can get a place.
Right, okay.
And I'm on the waiting list.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just making money from the food.
Yeah.
Not for drugs, not alcohol.
No. Have you ever done drugs or alcohol?
Yeah, alcohol. I'm 21 months clean.
Really?
Yeah, alcohol. I don't drink.
Yeah, I can tell by your demeanour that you're clean. Yeah,
I don't drink. I'm just raising money for my food.
Right, okay, what's your name?
Leon.
Leon, right, okay. Do you want to come over? I'm going to get you some food. Yeah, come on.
So can we talk about legacy at 6:15, right? I know that's just one drug dealer, but did you hear what he said? On the day that Andy Burnham, 8 years ago, stood up as the mayor of Manchester, I was there, he said, I'm going to crack down on homelessness and rough sleeping. And it happened for 5 minutes. That bloke's been waiting 2 years. Yeah. I'm not having a go, right, just for sake of having a go, but you have to cost this stuff out.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well,
We've got breaking news. It's 6:15.
Oh,
You
God,
ready?
what is it?
Push my breaking news jingle. Andy Burnham has told the BBC the NHS will collapse if social care is not reformed, but he has said he could not put a timeline on changes. He is due to make a major speech on social care later this week. Going to change the NHS next. He is, I mean, Midas Mandy. Sorry. Andy, did I call him Mandy? It's the Mandelson thing is still in my head, or that Barry Manilow song, I'm not sure. But I get it, but yet we have to scrape, because if we don't scrape, people will be conned. Because one of the things that you and I disagree on, you think he'll call an election, don't you? I think he will call an early election. Yeah. I actually would say that I'm now feeling quite confident that he'll call an election after party conference season. This is what he said, though, to Laura Kunsberg on the BBC. Have a listen about an election.
There's no early general election, and the thing I would say to you is 20 plus, how many million people you just mentioned, voted for a manifesto. We're in a parliamentary democracy, so that is what people voted for, and I will honour that manifesto. And, you know, obviously I have faced the public in Makerfield. At the time I stood forward in the by-election, people would say, oh my goodness, that constituency voted reform in May, that's a risk. I went and faced the public, and I went out onto those doorsteps. So, you know, I have done that. I've got the support of colleagues in Parliament, and it's a parliamentary democracy that we're in. Rule it out? Well, I'm going to rule it out, yeah. There's no early general election. I don't think people want it.
Yeah, no, see, having seen that, I completely agree with you. He's definitely going to call one. And actually, if he carries on with these announcements and nobody challenges him, he'll win, won't he? Yeah, he will. I mean... Reform are going through a difficult time. He is currently in the best position he will ever be. The right is divided. The left, at the moment, is united behind him, but that will not be the case for long. And the Greens have disappeared, thank Christ. Off the, what's 8% in the polls now. What's happened to Dave Polanski, then? Yeah, so he's had the lowest polling result since he's taken over as leader. Partly
because I think people are now saying, well, Andy Burnham is the saviour of the left, so we'll just go back behind him. They're happy with the noises that he's been making in the direction.
Do you think if there was a general election the next 6 months, he'd get a majority, although it reduced?
I think so, yeah. I think he would get a very, very slim majority. Now, this is
20 or 30 seats, I reckon.
This is the argument against it. Why would he tell all of his backbench MPs who currently have a job, you're going to be out of a job, regardless of how well I do? Because the majority Labour have at the moment is seismic. It will get smaller. Why would you take that risk? Look at someone like Theresa May, who was very confident.
Yeah.
She wanted to shore up her position. Turned out to be an absolute disaster. She was weaker than ever. Corbyn nearly beat her. There is a very, very strong feeling in this country, it's one that I share, that people are fed up with the same old politics and they want something to be a bit different. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to vote for a fool, but they might vote for other parties, which will then ultimately really hurt the Labour Party because they're the establishment. They are literally the government at the moment. So there is a risk involved, but if you look at it from Andy Burnham's perspective, this is your moment. If you're going to take that gamble of doing an early election, you would do it very soon.
Jane, good morning.
Morning, Jez. Also, while we're on the Andy Burnham costing us money, have you seen how much money that logo cost us? £500,000 for number 10, North. Wow, exciting.
It's interesting for me. The reason that I do think we absolutely have a duty to question all of this is because there will, and this is no disrespect, Alarm Corporates, I'd love to know what you think about this. There's millions of people in this country that don't investigate, question, read or do anything about politics and they end up being seduced by lines. So that's the bottom line. And that's not me being, you know, people go, oh, buses are £2 and he's going to do something about VAT. And you strip it down, actually. So I think, listen, I think it's really, really interesting. Can I ask you one other thing? I fear we're going to have our first ever argument. Oh. In just his second week as PM, Burnham is also eyeing up compulsory voting. Voters' proposals would mean a £10 fine for those who do not cast a ballot with none of the above option to be included. Should you be forced to vote?
No. No, of course you shouldn't be forced to vote.
Can I add a caveat, though?
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to hear from people in London, I don't want to hear from people across the country moaning and bitching about politics unless you get off your arse and go and vote. Yeah. That's I really feel strongly about that.
I agree.
Really.
I agree that people should vote. I vote.
It is my democratic duty, I see it, as you might disagree.
No, I agree it's a democratic duty, but the thing about a duty is it's not compelled. Otherwise, it's not a duty. I mean, I've seen Australia has compulsory voting, and I don't actually think it's been particularly good for their politics, to be completely honest. Most people who don't care about politics end up voting for establishment parties because they, you know, you have to go in there, you get fined. OK, fine, I'll just tick the box that I recognise. That's not the right decision. You want someone deciding who's going to lead your country.
And £10 is not really a reason not to do it, is it? Castration might be, I don't know.
I might just not do it out of spite, to be honest with you, if they put it in. I mean, that's how I do most of it.
Because you're such a rebel.
Oh, I just find it irritating. But no.
How do we get people to vote and to democratically do the right thing?
Well, they have to feel that their vote will make a difference.
Yep.
And I completely understand the argument that people make, which is, well, what does it matter who I vote for? Because whatever party gets in,
but that's what 11 million people said in London, and Sadiq Khan's won 3 terms.
Exactly. That's the good rejoinder, because the more people that go, well, all the parties are the same, means there's no incentive for someone to come forward and say, I'm going to do politics a bit differently. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle. So people should go out and vote. I would encourage people to go out and vote. But
so there you are. He's going to try and crack down on youth sickness benefits in an effort to reduce the 333 billion welfare bill, which we all agree with. Will the Parliamentary Labour Party let him do it? We doubt it. It comes on the day which discovered that teen anxiety pays more than a job. £100 a month more if you're suffering from anxiety. See, Pop's here, right? This is what I'm saying. Pop's here ill, came into work. That's what I'm talking about. We had to do that, didn't we? Otherwise we didn't get paid.
Of course. I mean, this story is really fantastic.
Are you feeling anxious? Do you want to
No, not feeling anxious. I'm feeling fine. It's a Monday morning. What I don't understand about this, so the teenagers who are claiming PIP are from the ages of 16 to 17. Why does a 16-year-old need to claim PIP for anxiety? What could they possibly be anxious about?
Honestly,
I had a teenage job. They're not very pleasant. If that's why you're paid to do your job. Why would anyone do a teenage job?
What was your teenage job?
Oh, I did a few. So I used to be a waitress, used to work in a bar.
I bet you're really grumpy as a waitress.
I was rubbish. I was very clumsy. So I used to fall over all the time.
There you are. I see how my brain works. First 45 minutes. What we got? A banana. Tell me about your first teenage job, because today we find out that 75,000 Saturday jobs have been lost under Labour. What was your first Saturday job? Will be a prize for the best one. I stacked geesed bananas for M&S in a pair of green
bananas?
It's a particular... I don't know. I just remember geese. Geest. 165 an hour. 10 quid for...
But that was back in the days of shillings and, wasn't it? So you could probably get a house for that.
Oh, no, a house for a tenner. House for a tenner. Yeah, it was £10 a day. What was your first job? 87222. Tony, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's not that we're skinned, it's that we already owe about £98,000 per household. And it's like... And now we've got Vladimir coming over to the UK to come and beg some more money. I'm Tony Southampton. Sort him out, Jeremy.
To be here with you all in the heart of Manchester this Friday morning at the end of, a fairly big week is just everything to me.
If I have to watch one more saccharine video of him pulling a pint or talking about his favourite bar snacks with John Healy, whatever mawkish, minimalising, utterly moronic, stupid bit of social media tidbit they're trying to throw to us, the sugar to help the Marxist medicine go down.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back to 6:25, Monday, July 27th. This is JK on Breakfast on the Home of Common Sense with the wonderfully talented, although slightly sore in the throat, Poppy Coburn. You're all right, though, aren't you? So, listen, so much you're waking up to. The 6:15 announcement didn't happen. What? No announcement from Andy Burnham this morning. Although, to be fair, he has told the BBC the NHS will collapse if social care is not reformed, but I can't put a timeline on it or how much it's going to cost. You're waking up to the news that Andy Burnham, our new Prime Minister, is plotting a crackdown on youth sickness benefits in an effort to reduce our ridiculous £333 billion welfare bill. Front of your newspaper, PM to crack down on youth benefits. Payments may be stopped unless training or voluntary work is agreed to. Reduced welfare bill will help fund defence and social care.
I mean, look, it sounds great.
Yeah,
it sounds
great.
fantastic. Totally sensible. I mean, one of the worst things that has happened in the last 10 years and is really accentuated after COVID has been young people who are NEETs, so they're not in employment or educational training, basically starting down the benefit system.
Is that what it's called, a NEET?
NEET,
just a lazy sod, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's one of the reasons it's so damaging for people is if you don't get that initial foot on the job market and you don't do those small jobs you do when you're a teenager, and then you go up your training and hopefully you get a better job or you get a trade and you go make your money from that, it's really difficult.
Absolutely.
If you have 5-10 years out of that work, because you're basically then on benefits for life. So it's stopping it for young people is a really important thing to do. But will he actually stick by this? Because we've seen before any actual attempt to try and link training and benefits together has always been cut down by the Labour Party. They think they make the system too difficult to access. And yes, the system is quite difficult to access. It is very bureaucratic for a reason, because some people take the mickey and they just want to take the money.
The Labour Party has never, ever been able to look you full square in the face and go, yeah, there are people taking the mickey, there are people taking advantage. They have this whole thing that everybody is unfortunate. It'd be really interesting to see good words when you see it through. The other thing is he's eyeing up compulsory voting. We talked about this before the break. A £10 fine, according to Andy Burnham, if you refuse to vote. Adrian, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Poppy. This is Adrian from East Sussex. It's a great show. I find myself having to disagree with Poppy. And oh, God. agree with Andy Burnham on an idea. Heaven's sakes, did I really say that? I have said for years, voting must be compulsory.
Brilliant. It ended quickly. We agree. No,
I just think... Do you remember the Labour Party was talking about votes for under-16s? Everyone then had a long conversation about whether or not 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Everyone had a long conversation about whether or not it was a good idea for these people to do it, whether or not it would get them engaged in politics. Totally missed the point. Why would the Labour Party try and change the voting system? Well, because they think it's going to benefit the Labour Party.
Yeah.
That is why they come up with these ideas.
Yeah.
If you have low-information voters that don't really want to be there, that aren't paying attention to the issues and don't really have any political ideas of their own that they want to see
It's an interesting
be
angle.
brought out, who are they going to vote for? Well, probably the party they've heard of.
Interesting
probably
angle.
the party in government.
I'll give you that. All right, your thoughts on that, your thoughts on the attempt at tackling youth sickness benefit, and your attempts to describe to us what your first job was. 75,000 Saturday jobs have been lost under this government. 87222. Roger from Wales, first full-time job working in security, 100 hours a week, gave me a take-home pay of 102 quid, £1 an hour. Emma, nun. She wasn't a nun. What is this? Jeremy and Pops, my first job was a kennel maid.
Kennel maid?
What's a kennel maid? Is that dogs?
Oh, I assume so, but why would you have a maid in a kennel?
Well, unless it's something that when I left school, they took me on permanently. A kennel maid. It's got to be a dog kennel, hasn't it? Or does she smash kennels or kernels? I mean, what is a kennel maid? Is it a dog groomer? Should we use that word? Probably not. I mean grooming, not dog. Talk, compulsory voting. So that's another freedom Labour's getting rid of, says Dale from Halifax. There's your argument, you see. Yeah. People will have that thing. Tash is in Bexhill. Morning, Tash. Compulsory voting only if there's a box to tick that says no confidence in any of the buggers. Great. Yeah. Johnny S from up north. Where? It's quite a large area. I do agree with compulsory voting as they have it in Australia, however, with caveats. 1, criminals in jail do not get to vote. 2, people who are not paying tax do not get to vote. And 3, every ballot should have a checkbox with none of the above written next to it so you can record a vote of dissatisfaction. Yes. Brilliant. Andy Burnham is slightly better looking than Keir Starmer, says Roger in Hounslow.
I think that's probably true.
Proving ultimately why Roger shouldn't vote, because there's a lot more to what's going on. He certainly needs to be compulsory told not to vote if he's...
So I said that, oh, Andy Burnham's got nice eyelashes. I guess I'll...
Am I allowed to say this, or is it going to be... I mean, as a woman, do you find Andy Burnham an attractive man? Is there anything about him?
No,
More so than Starmer?
I mean, yes, but that is a real Sophie's Choice situation.
Best-looking politician in your mind, male?
Best-looking politician?
Richard Tice?
Oh, God. That's a terrible question to ask me. Best-looking male politician.
Your boyfriend's asleep. We're all right with this.
I'm trying to think. Am I allowed to go around the world?
Yeah, if you want. Have a little think. Also, best-looking radio and television presenter, you know. A kennel maid is an animal care worker who cleans and maintains animal housing, feeds and exercises dogs and provides basic grooming.
There you go.
Fantastic. Morning, Jess. The best way to save money is to stop giving in to the bloody illegal migrants. It's insane, says Mary in Canterbury. Their lifestyle, surely that is a saving. This is interesting. Christina. Jez, patently, the Burnham coup was all planned. Shows how devious he is. A secret tenant signed for a Manchester office suite 8 days before voters even got to elect the MP. Yeah. Everyone assumed would end up using it. The decision, Manchester City Council approved a new lease at Heron House on Albert Square on the 10th of June. The tenant taking the vacant second-floor office is described in the council's own paperwork as simply a new tenant. No name is given. 8 days later, on the 18th of June, voters in Makerfield went to the polls. That is, I mean...
Well, you know who gave the game away? Louise Hay. Louise Hay said in an interview a couple of weeks ago that Andy Burnham had been planning this for a year. So that was Andy Burnham's spontaneous, I just had to come in and save up the country. No. He had had this moment in his mind. He was just waiting for a chance to get rid of Starmer.
What do you think Starmer's doing? Do you think he's bitter and twisted that he won the election? They're all having it. Do you think he's sitting there like this? You watch, because you are going to fall on your ass.
I think that's exactly what he's thinking. Yeah. As you can see with every former Tory Prime Minister, they were just waiting for the person that stabbed them in the back to fail. You can see it with Boris Johnson responding to Rishi Sunak. Yeah. Obviously, anyone who came after Liz Truss. I think probably Keir Starmer thinks, if you think it's so easy... You have your go. Let's see where you are in 2 years' time.
Burnham's doing one thing. He's doing an awful lot of social media. This is him showing. Is this the David Brent one? This This is very similar to David Brent in The Office. This is Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham showing us around his new office, number 10 up north. Have a watch.
Yes. Hi, Andy. Could you show me around your number 10 North office, please?
Come on then. Come in.
Brilliant.
It's great.
It's lovely.
Very happy with it.
Can you show me some of the things you got?
New folder. There's my leaving present from Greater Manchester. Look at that. Gold disc of The Queen is Dead. I need to return that to Johnny Marr, actually. Great cartoon. Andy Burnham gets his hat-trick against Liverpool. Brit Awards in Manchester. And then over there, on the other wall. Now that is something I treasure. Somebody
Andy, what are you...
whoa! Hang on. You don't need to see that. Okay, I think we better leave now.
All right, sorry.
Cheers.
I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
I'm a little bit confused. So he's showing this journalist around the office, right?
Yes.
And there's something on the screen that he doesn't want him to see, so he deletes it and throws him out.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be funny, but I was sat there with a completely neutral face.
I think you're quite a good judge. That was about as funny as Piles to me. I don't think that was funny at all.
You know, this does remind me of my theory that actually Andy Burnham's not that different from Keir Starmer. I mean, they have the same interests, which is to say not really anything at all apart from football.
Serious question for people watching, right? Social media. Great, Mark. Should Prime Ministers be doing that? Is that going to help? Come and knock at my office. No, I don't want to see your office. I want to know that you're going to cut my tax bill.
As I said at the beginning of the show, I think you can have the best comms team in the world, but if you're raising everyone's taxes and making decisions that make people angry, everyone will hate you. So I think, to be honest with you, it's all a big waste of money. Because the only things you need to be communicating to us is why you're making the financial decisions you do, but that's obviously not what's fashionable.
What do you think of Burnham? Do you believe the promises? Are you concerned about where the money will come from today? A cut in the 333 billion welfare bill, as he works out that kids 16 and 17 are getting paid more by saying I'm anxious than going to work. He says, I will smash this. We say good idea, then we go, are the Parliamentary Labour Party going to let you do that? That'll be quite interesting. Interesting as well, he wants to make voting compulsory. Your thoughts on that? And also your first Saturday job. I need to know your first Saturday job. 87222, because 75,000 of them have gone under Labour. Jezza, Johnny S here. Up north is go to Aberdeen and turn right. Now I'm lost. There's a C in it. Is it? Is that up north in C? Jez and Poppy, Angela, Moneybags Rayner refuses with a defiant no, I'm not giving my 17 grand severance money back, but earned a fortune in speaking engagements and a book deal. What a joke. What did she talk about? Ethiopia, Margaret in Birmingham. Not sure it's Poppy today, just wanted to send it to JK. Poppy's here! Are you listening or what? Angela Rayner.
Yeah, I did notice that when Angela Rayner gave her interview saying that she's not going to give the money back, that she appears to have brand new clothes on.
Brand new clothes. She had a bit of a makeover, the old glasses.
Maybe she's already taken the tags off, that's why she has to keep the money.
Unbelievable. Compulsory voting, Hev, what are you thinking?
Good morning, Jeremy. Hev from Kent. Yeah, I agree with you. I think everybody should be made to go and vote. Yeah, and there also be an option there of none of the above. I agree. I've thought this for a very long time, but I think, you know, if people are made to go and vote, okay, there's that option. But I do think there'd be more people that are more that are engaged with politics and look things up and do a bit of research and listen a bit more. You know.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 23 minutes to 7 o'clock. We're live across the UK. You are with Jeremy Kyle and Poppy Coburn, Deputy Content Editor. You should be the Content Editor. When are you going to get promoted at The Telegraph?
I'm Associate Comment Editor.
What does that mean?
That means I've been promoted about 2 years ago.
Have you?
Yeah.
Are you the editor now?
No.
Right, so we've got the title wrong. You are not Assistant Comment Editor.
No, I'm Associate Comment Editor.
What's the difference between assistant and associate, then?
Associate is a much more senior role.
Is it? Is that more money?
Yeah.
Have you got people under you?
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
How many? You're only about 20. How many people have you got under you? That's brilliant.
Probably about 3 people.
Very impressive. Morning, Jez. What, no 6:30 announcement? Does that mean he spent all the bloody money? Can you ask AB how much it will cost to do number 10 North on Friday? Presuming there is a cost-benefit analysis. Is it a costly stunt? So Stephen in Belfast. The plane to take him there in Glasgow the other day was 300 grand. I said it earlier, if he goes every Friday, that's 10 million quid.
Well, there's still the question of, surely if you want good devolution, what you wouldn't do is copy what Boris Johnson did, which is to say, this job that's being done perfectly well in London, let's just randomly move it into an area of the country where it doesn't actually make sense for it to be done there. Everyone, you're not hiring any local people, you're just moving people to a different part of the country. It's just pointless.
This is the big question in the morning, though. Apart from your Saturday job, I need you to text your answers to this. Morning, Jezza and Poppy. Big question of the day will be, is there going to be a Manchester Larry the Cat outside number 10 North, or are they going to, on a weekly basis, put the poor bloody thing in a basket and send it in a jet up to Manchester so it's a normal number? Because Larry has seen off more rats in 10 Downing Street than anybody else.
I think you'd have to be very, very brave to put Larry the Cat in a box. Have you seen Larry the Cat? He's quite tough.
Is he?
He's a tough cat.
Do you like cats?
Love cats.
I hate cats.
Oh.
I don't like cats.
Goodness.
I'm so what's
Why
wrong?
not?
I don't like it because they smell and they drop, and you know people are going to get angry. They always snarl at me. They crap all over.
Are you a dog person?
I don't like dogs either.
You just hate animals.
I don't hate animals.
Do you hate children too?
I hate children. I hate animals. I've got too many children, and we had a dog, right? And they all wanted a dog.
What do you
right,
do?
you see, this is going to really pee me off now. They all wanted a dog, have a dog, have a dog. I'm not having a dog, it's going to destroy my lovely house. No, we get a bloody dog, and what happens? They all get bored of it, and I start feeling sorry for it. It's like the pig in Hamster, right? We bought a hamster, because they all want... And now you see, you've got me now. So the hamster, I don't want the hamster anywhere in my house, it stinks. I'm the one, right, at 2 o'clock in the morning when I get up, it comes out on its wheel and starts making a noise at me. I'm the one that feels sorry for it. So I don't want animals, because then I end up wasting my time being nice to them. God, where did that come from? Jez and Poppy, my first job was a rando number technician. Do you know what that is? Bingo call on Blue 21. If you hold your cards, we'll check your numbers. There are any more players for the next game? It's 10 car. That's what I did down at
It's like
Rome
you're speaking
Regis.
in a foreign language to me.
Do you not know bingo?
No.
2 little ducks, 22. Prime Minister number 11.
I think I'm
2
6.
fat ladies. You can't say that anymore, can you? 2 spherically challenged women of different gender who might have eaten too many kebabs. I don't know. I'm a bit confused.
I think it's 60 years too soon for me to be learning the rules to bingo. I'll get there eventually.
Do you not think bingo... Do you not like bingo with a dabber?
I've never played bingo.
Oh, you're
You're
so London, aren't you?
Oh,
You're
God's
so
sake. No, it's more that I'm in my 20s.
Are you?
Yes.
I thought you were in your 30s.
No.
I'm joking. Julian's in Newport. Can you say good morning to him?
Good morning.
Brilliant. Jez, Tash in Bexhill, dog groomer. Oh, my God, Jeremy, dog groomer. But you reminded me when I was at school, I told my friends my mum was a stripper. She was a dog hairdresser, known at the time as a dog stripper. Thanks for the laughter.
That is quite funny.
What's your mum do, stripper? Best-looking politician, Danny Kruger.
Yeah, very good-looking Danny Kruger.
Rupert from Wolverhampton. Hi, Jez. My first job was a paper round. Brilliant, fantastic. You've changed my day. 0344 499 1000. We're streeting. This is... I don't know. I can't... I mean, front of the mail, streeting. I will quit. I will quit if defence plans fall short. Now, of course, this agreement or this aim to spend 3% of GDP on defence before 2030 was something that Keir Starmer couldn't get his head round money-wise, and his defence review didn't say that. Yeah. And John Healey, who's now the Chancellor, walked out and said, right, I'm done. Yeah. You don't want to protect England enough. the United Kingdom. Streeting gets the job. I don't know. I don't think he's got a military background.
He hasn't.
No, not at all. And he's coming out and saying that. Now, I don't understand West Streeting, right? Because the Prime Minister yesterday said, I can't commit to that 3% funding. Yeah. So is he putting himself at loggerheads with Andy Burnham on day 7? I
think what West Streeting done here is quite clever. You know, he's quite a cunning man, West Streeting.
He's a what?
He's very cunning. He's smart and he's quite calculating.
Was it a cunning... Go on, crack on.
Right. I think because John Healey's Chancellor...
Yes.
Andy Burnham would not have put John Healey in as Chancellor if he didn't intend to somehow rustle up the money for defence. Because otherwise John Healey will just resign for a second time, I imagine, if he's Chancellor. So I think what West Streeting is doing here is he's saying something that sounds risky, which makes people who think, why is this man in Defence Secretary, think, oh, you know what, he really cares about this issue. But there's actually no risk involved whatsoever. Because why would Andy Burnham then actually not do this?
So if he's done all of that, where's Burnham getting the money from for defence?
Well, I imagine from the same place that Andy Burnham's getting all the other money from.
Where is that?
An imaginary part of the back of his head, where he doesn't have to pay it back. I'm sure he thinks that he'll find cuts to be made somewhere, but he won't.
But he won't cut social services,
no,
and he won't cut foreign... He's going to what?
He's going to raise taxes.
He's going to raise taxes. There we are. So for the left-wing radio presenter who says, all you lot do on that station is talk about, oh, what's he going to pay for it with? Because he's going to pay for it with our bloody money, so we have a reason to have this discussion, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. The truth is that Andy Burnham is going to produce a lot of really nice policies that actually sound great and will make people's lives better. But the problem is the reason we haven't done those policies before isn't because everyone's mean in government. It's because there's no money left.
Well, Isaac's in Birmingham. My first teenage job was a paper round in 2020, aged 13. Then I worked on a farm. Why did I do that? From 2023, age 16. Compulsory voting, says Carl, should be minimum £50. £10 not enough. This is Andy Burnham who says he's considering compulsory and charging people for not voting. Bill in Romsey, has Burnham forgot about illegal immigration? If he got his act in gear and stopped the boats, just think of all the money he could put into social care. It's the one thing we haven't heard anything about the boats, have we?
Yeah.
Not a jiffy. I don't know why I said that. Nothing have we heard about stopping boats.
No, because the truth is that at least Burnham is able to say up there honestly that he hasn't got a plan to stop the boats in the same way that Keir Starmer didn't have a plan to stop the boats. The boats won't be stopped under a Labour government. They're not willing to do the things required, which would be leaving the ECHR and pulling out the Human Rights Act. So they're not going to do it. The boats will keep coming.
Charlie, good morning.
Morning, Jezza. It's Charlie and George and Darren on our way to work helping to pay that 40 billion welfare bill. Compulsory voting, coupled with 16-year-olds voting, so the education system, the teachers couldn't brainwash the 16-year-olds that are not allowed to go on social media. Yeah, compulsory voting, we're inching that little bit closer to being just like our friends in North Korea. Over and out, everybody. Have a good day.
Good man. 7:15. Let's cross to LA. She is as important to this show as Poppy is. I'm just the messenger. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Strangely, it's Kinsey Schofield. Morning, gorgeous.
Hi. Good to see you.
How was your weekend, baby?
Pretty uneventful. I'm excited to be here. You're kicking off my week in a good way.
Well, the wife went away and the kids went away, and I thought, ooh, superb. And by midday on Saturday, I was bored. Absolutely bored. Should have FaceTimed.
I'm so sorry. You and I could have played Wordle.
We could have what?
We could have played Wordle.
Is that some sort of dodgy thing online where we... Well, what does that mean, Wordle?
Literally nothing dodgy about it, but we could discuss it at a later time.
Oh, it's brain teasing. Sorry, I thought it was something whether you do that thing where you take your... Never mind.
No.
No, nothing like that. Sorry. So royal plans. I was reading this. You know this whole Harry came back, and I'd love you in on this as well, please, Pops. Harry came back. There was all that argument about security. Then we had this sort of undercover visit to Highgrove House where Camilla was there with the pursed top lip, quite rightly too. And then he and the dreadful one went back to wherever they've come from. Apparently in the news today, King Charles will offer Prince Harry a room at Buckingham Palace when he returns to the UK in the coming weeks. What does that mean, and why is he coming back? And is he coming on his own, and why should I care?
He's coming for the Well Child Awards. I believe he is coming back by himself. Here's the thing. I recently heard that Prince William made it abundantly clear that Harry and Meghan cannot be offered accommodation at Windsor Castle. And I think that that's important because it tells us that there's not even an inch of thawing happening between the brothers. He doesn't want to risk an unexpected encounter with Harry, especially Meghan, on what he considers his family's home turf. And the reason why I thought that this was so interesting is, do you remember the reports a few years ago that Harry and Meghan had actually asked to live in Windsor Castle?
Yeah.
So if they were offered Windsor Castle to stay when they visit in the UK, that would be considered a bit of a win for them, because we know that they personally approached Queen Elizabeth and she said, no, I live in Windsor Castle. I don't want you to live in Windsor Castle. You guys can have Frogmore Cottage. So it's my understanding that Prince William has put his foot down and said, I don't want them anywhere near Windsor. If I stumble upon him, I wouldn't even acknowledge him.
Wow.
Is Buckingham Palace a downgrade? I don't think it's necessarily a downgrade. If this offer is confirmed, he would once again be staying inside one of the most recognizable royal residences in the world.
But you see, why is it that all of me, and I'd love your opinion on this, Poppy, all of me thinks this is all for their brand, this is all about a few clicks. You are both part of a couple who said that the monarchy is racist and everything about it is fundamentally wrong. Why, Poppy, then? And Kins and I have spoken about this so much. Would he take a room within an institution that he hates so much? Because he's a two-faced liar, that's what he is.
I think, like... I mean, I'm not completely across the royal story, but I imagine he probably wants to have some kind of relationship still with the royal family, because I don't know if Harry is 100% correct in his mind that he wants to stay in America forever. So isn't this his way of trying to keep the door open, in some respect?
Yeah, but why should we allow him to keep the door open when he's slagged everything off about the royal family, unless he's worked out his wife is a witch and he wants out?
Well, I think that's probably the question that you then have to ask the royal family. Like, are they completely shutting the door on him after everything that's happened? The fact that he's continuing to try and appeal this bizarre, vendetta he has against British media is not really a sign that he's learning and moving on from this stuff, is it?
It's very true, that, isn't it, Kins, to be fair, the whitewash job. It just sits badly with me. It sits better with me if he stood up to his wife and said, this is where I come from, this is what I believe in, you're going to be a part of this, you might not like it. But he ran out of this country and slagged everything off and now seems to want to come back, and he's... I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. He's using, presumably, the argument that he wants a relationship with his father, which I guess you'd understand. His father's living with some form of cancer. I just don't see it ending well, sorry.
Well, I think, if you're cynical like me, like you, this creates a very different picture of Harry's relationship with the monarchy than we've seen in the last several years. And that's why some of us, some royal observers, are urging caution. No one's seriously suggesting a father shouldn't see his son or his grandchildren, shouldn't see, or his grandchildren. The grandfather shouldn't see his grandchildren. The concern is whether private reconciliation eventually becomes a pathway towards the half-in, half-out arrangement that Harry and Meghan originally wanted. The late Queen rejected that model very clearly, so the palace will hopefully be conscious of keeping family reconciliation separate from any suggestion of an official royal return. However, the optics make it look like Harry's back in the game. If you've got shots of him coming in and out of Buckingham Palace, there are, perception is reality. And the people that threw money at him to disparage his family, like Netflix and Spotify, that's all they're saying. Harry, back in the fold.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, I was going to, if you don't mind, Pops as well, I was thinking, because you're from America, well done, Jez, I wanted to read you two stories. You're not prepared for this, but you live in Trump's America, and I would like to know what the American president would do with these two stories, because this, Kins, sums up the situation in this country that used to be called Great Britain. An Albanian drug dealer this morning will not be deported from this country, a judge has decided, because his daughter wets the bed. He told the court the girl needed therapeutic intervention due to her accidents, which worsened during his time in jail. He was jailed for 2 years for his role in a money laundering drug gang deal. And essentially the judge has said, don't worry, you stay here because your daughter wets the bed. I can't see Trump allowing that, can you?
No, I mean, a couple of shots of tequila, and I'm also a bedwetter. So I really don't see the problem here. I think that's a typical Tuesday if you've had a taco.
Sorry. Now, I'm 60, so I wet the bed without even knowing it. But you have just admitted, this will be on Jimmy Kimmel, that you have 2 tequilas and wet yourself. Is that right?
Well, that's why I don't drink tequila anymore, okay?
Poppy?
I've learned my lesson.
Poppy, wet the bed through alcohol?
I can't drink tequila anymore because it was the first drink that I was sick on when I was a teenager. And, you know, you never forget the first thing you were sick on when you were a teenager.
But you're doing that journalist thing, right? Have you ever wet the bed?
I haven't wet the bed since I was, I think, 3.
Oh, right, good. By the way, Kinsey, first Saturday job. What was your first Saturday job?
Oh, a camp counselor for musical theatre kids.
Oh, that's proper. Next question, next story. This is absolutely true. On the day we find out that British police have spent 600 million on sort of, you know, equality and diversity initiatives, a taxpayer-funded arts group has today announced that some teddy bears, Care Bears, are transgender.
Oh my God, don't ruin teddy bears for me, guys. They're not. They're just sweet and fluffy and perfect. You're being disrespectful, misogynistic, homophobic, sexist, racist, old trout. They are transgender, some teddy bears.
What I don't understand about this is that teddy bears obviously don't have genitalia, so how can you tell that they're transgender?
Listen, I didn't write the story. I don't want my teddy bear to have a willy or a... What? Oh, you know. No, but my daughter... Yeah. Sorry, I was about to say fairy. Anyway, there we go. What would Trump say about transgendered teddy bears?
I think that he would say, I don't know what he'd say. Gosh, he's ridiculous. I mean, I couldn't believe that he was fighting with that Caitlin Collins from CNN over the weekend by referring to her as Dylan Mulroney, the transgender person that crashed Bud Light's brand, and even posted a picture of Caitlin as Dylan Mulroney. So he would definitely have something to say, but could I predict it? Absolutely not. Could it get me cancelled?
I don't think anyone can predict what Trump is.
Trump says he's going for a 4th term. He seems to have forgotten the 3rd one. He's only done 2.
Oh, he's already guaranteed, I guess, the 3rd term in his head.
Nobody's done it better than me. Kins, we love you. Thank you so much. I know it's late there. We so appreciate you being on the show. The legend and the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Thank you so much indeed, Kinsey. So, Pops, before you head off, associate editor. Deputy editor or associate editor?
Associate comment editor.
Wow. So you are editor, not deputy. You get that right on the sheet. Andy Burnham. Lots of promises. The latest one today, youth sickness benefit. I'm going to cut that. How you get that past the Labour Party? I'm thinking about compulsory voting. I've cut VAT on energy bills. I've given buses at £2. Yeah. This was an orchestrated plan when we discovered today that number 10 North was sorted out in May before the Makerfield election. He's got to be very sure of the fact that he was going to win, hasn't he?
I completely agree with you. I do not think that Andy Burnham just spontaneously saw the terrible state that the country was in and thought, oh, I'm so happy in my job, but you know what, I'm going to really take a risk here. Yep. He was waiting for his moment, and that's why Josh Simons resigned when he did. It was the...
What's been heard of him, by the way, that MP for Makerfield? Has he been promised a job or another seat? Because he just...
He's actually said that he's not coming back to frontline politics because he's having some family issues. So it doesn't look like he's going to be in the Burnham cabinet yet, but I'm sure he will come back as an advisor at some point because, you know, he allowed him to become Prime Minister. If it wasn't for him resigning his seat, then Andy Burnham wouldn't currently be at number 10.
So he would, he owes Josh Simons?
Yes, he does.
Overall, compulsory voting, you're not a fan, but you do think it's people's responsibility. And Wes Streeter, you say, quite clever. So you imagine that Burnham will also be spending all that money on defence?
I think Andy Burnham, for the next 6 weeks, will be spending a lot of money in his head on basically everything you can possibly conceive of. I don't think he's going to actually pay for it.
How is he going to pay for it?
He's going to raise taxes.
When is his budget going to be? October, November?
Yes, which is why I think he hasn't really got a choice. He's going to have to raise taxes. Even if he wasn't promising all these brand new, shiny policies, we were on a route to tax raises anyway. It's Keir Starmer knew that.
What do you say to the lefty radio presenter who I heard say that stations like this are appalling because they won't support this new Prime Minister? All they'll do is dig and find out where the money's coming from.
Well, I'm sorry. I know we don't have compulsory voting yet, but in a democracy, it is the responsibility of everyone to actually look into what a government is doing. We don't actually live in a system where, when a politician makes a decision, you don't have scrutiny of them.
What's your view? We were talking about this in the office this morning. You know, Christian was saying, and I was saying, swathes of people across this country who don't really engage in politics, will they fall for this, or has what happened under Starmer and Labour in general and people's perception of what they are, will that override these shiny announcements in your mind?
I don't think these announcements really cut through, because I think what people notice is their life. They notice how much money is still in their pocket at the end of the month. They notice what's happening on their mortgage payments or their car payments. That's what they're actually paying attention to. I don't think Andy Burnham's slick knee David Brent videos are really making a difference.
Also, one thing which has been a tragedy this morning, where's Angry Rob? Is he on holiday? What sort of listener... Where is Angry Rob? You're Devoed, aren't you?
I think this must be the recess. This must be the recess period. There's nothing to be angry about.
Has he sent a voice note? Oh, right, Angry Rob, you sent one, and apparently the quality's crap, so you'll have to do it again. Now I've just heard that out, you see, because I was thinking it's been an hour. Where's Angry Rob? He sent one. Angry Rob, it's not good enough. Do it again, for goodness sake. Poppy's devastated. Thank you so much indeed.
Associate editor, comment editor.
How bad do you lot feel? She got promoted.
Oh, no, God, I don't care.
And listen, I hope you feel better. We appreciate it. Are you back on Thursday?
I am.
Lovely. We're heading to the news at 7. The legend that is James Price. After that, your thoughts, please. 0344 499 1000. Calls, voice notes. Don't laugh at me. 87, you can. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Anything you want to text. The news at 7 on the way. Your thoughts on Andy Burnham as we enter the second week of the new Messiah from Manchester. Back after the news, which is next.
Not supposed to flip and flop with every spirit of the age, every woke ideology or every passing fad and trend that comes about. We are supposed to be called out and separate. We're not supposed to flip and flop with every spirit of the age, every woke ideology or every passing fad and trend that comes about. We are supposed to be called
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, gang, or welcome along. Just gone 7 o'clock. We're live across the UK. This is Talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of you, my dears. Alarm clock, Brits, whatever you're doing, on the night shift, heading home, trying to get up. Maybe you're on holiday and you're listening. Lots of people at factory fortnight. 0344 499 1000, telephone number you need. You can leave a voice note. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. What are you waking up to on Monday, the 27th of July? Well, Andy Burnham, the giveaway continues. He's decided he's going to crack down on youth sickness benefit. Good! In an effort to reduce the £333 billion bill that we spend on welfare. Brilliant! He today is basically saying you get more for teenage anxiety than you do for working. This has to stop under me. Now, you see, the thing is, I've been accused of being cynical. I'm not. I want that to happen. But the reality is, where's the money? And all the leftists say, all you keep saying is the money. Yeah, where's the money? Because we've got the highest taxation we've had in 75 years. People are really struggling and they're sick to death of paying money out for things that essentially, I don't know whether we believe in it or not, but we need some truth from Andy Burnham. 75,000 Saturday jobs have been lost under Labour. Well, how are we going to get this economy back? You know, think about defence. We need to spend money on defence. Where's it going to suddenly come from? Not cynical to say, it will come from raising your taxes. But I'd prefer my Prime Minister, which is one of the failings of Starmer and what Burnham's better at, which is communication, is to stand in front of me and go, do you know what? This country's skin. I'm not going to borrow. I'm not going to crush things. I'm going to be really honest. We need a bit of pain so we can defend ourselves and get our feet back. And we're going to have to increase taxes and we're going to do this and we're going to have a time scale. But we don't get that. We get bluster. And as Poppy Coburn rightly said, for 6 weeks, Andy Burnham could give out sweets like they're out of fashion because there's no parliament. They're in recess. They're not holding his feet to the fire. Love to know what you think of it. Are you cynical? Or, I mean, today as well, he wants to make voting compulsory. Proposal would mean a £10 fine for those who do not cast a ballot with a none of the above option to be included. Should you be forced to vote? Laura, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Morning, Poppy. Laura in Wiltshire. The only thing I have to say about compulsory voting is that unless they reform postal voting and all of the other areas where we all know there's a lot of shenanigans going on, particularly on the left, it's going to make a bad problem even worse. Anyway, great show.
0344 499 1000. What Andy Burnham is going to come under fire for is this number 10 North. You'll have seen him on Friday there. The happiest day of my life, he said, as he opened the new building, second floor Heron House. I don't want to be cynical, but I do think we should start this hour by discussing how within 5 days of being Prime Minister, he'd opened an office that was complete with contracts, furnishing, services, security, a logo, printed signs and banners. He held his first official meeting there, and then we dug and we found out that on the 11th of May, Manchester City Council agreed to lease the second floor of Heron House. The 11th of May. On the 14th of May, Josh Simmons resigns as MP for Makerfield to allow Burnham to stand. On the 10th of June, 8 days before the Makerfield by-election, how long has this plan been shaping up? I mean, you know, quite impressive. You put like that. Let's say a very good morning to a man who is as cynical as I am, but far more talented. The legend that is James Price. Good morning, JP.
Cynical, me, when I'm wearing my Richard Nixon jumper for you today, Jez. Come on.
Brilliant. Let's be honest, because you were a special advisor. There is a caveat, but hear me out. He's very good at... He's better at politics than Starmer. It was a low bar, but at this moment... my fear is, and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, there are millions of people in this country, JP, who are neither invested nor interested in politics, who will hear your bus is £2, your VAT is coming off this, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and will go, lovely man. I think he's going to call an early election. I don't think anybody's holding him to task here for obvious reasons. I'd love your thoughts, because cynically... I am going to ask repeatedly where the money's coming from, but for many people they won't, and that's a concern.
Yeah, absolutely right. The argument against is that he's never going to get a majority as big as that he's got right now, because the Tories, bless us, lost that election so catastrophically thanks to Rishi Sunak, rather than Starmer or Labour actually winning it. So he's inherited a party he doesn't know, he hasn't got any particular beef with the exception of the few people who actually thought that Keir Starmer was doing a good job. And on some of his announcements about social care that came out overnight, he said things like, I think there's a lot we can do before an election. So that's the argument against. But obviously, as you say, the argument in favour is the way that he is behaving, spending money he doesn't have, like a drunk sailor on shore leave, with apologies to all of our great sailors. The problem with this is socialism is eventually you run out of other people's money, and you can say it again and again and again and again. And unfortunately, we've got a very sophisticated financial market system globally around the world now that allows us to borrow money and to put off feeling the pain always, always, always until tomorrow, as long as you don't mind people's living standards being depressed and decreased all the time, which is what we've now had for 20 odd years. The economy hasn't grown properly in 20 years because of excess taxes and excess regulation, and therefore a lack of economic growth. And that's the reason, more than anything else, why everybody at home doesn't feel as well off as they deserve to, as they would have done had those things not have happened, and as they would have done if they'd have, for example, lived in the United States, where growth kept on going even after that financial crash. Does Andy Burnham get that? Does he care? That's what worries me. I don't think he does.
I dug a bit this week, and you must have seen Friday. Happiest day of my life, as he stood there. No, but can I just point out for people, because I lived there for 15 years, and I'm allowed to say this, he's a Scouse, supports Everton, doesn't come from bloody Manchester anyway. Manchester City Council agreed to the lease on the 11th of May. 3 days later, Josh Simons resigns as the MP for Makerfield so Burnham can stand. On the 10th of June, the council confirms the lease agreement from Heron House. 8 days before the election in Makerfield. And by the time he's Prime Minister, within 96 hours, this office is up and running and functional and done. It's like the bus the other day. I was looking at it thinking, you haven't done that in 24 hours. How orchestrated a plan was this, JP?
Well, it's either that his very presence has fashioned to increase state capacity and make the civil service from a useless body that can't get anything done to the most ruthlessly efficient organisation since, what, the Royal Navy under Admiral Nelson or something, or, as you say, there's a bit of chicanery and a bit of shenanigans going on here. And I think that there'll be a lot of stories as time goes on, and as the media starts to turn against our dear blessed saviour, Andy, in the coming weeks, about some of the various deals, about people close to Andy Burnham who may work for companies that may have got nice deals, which is always what happens.
Oh, Jay, I've got to jump in. Look, I've got to jump in. That's a model door of number 10. How long did... I mean, look, there's a model... How long did that take to do?
It's astonishing, isn't it? But I think this goes to this wider point that I say that at the moment, scrambling to get favourable access to Andy Burnham and his team, a lot of the kind of, let's call them mainstream media types, will be quite fawning because they want to get interviews, they want to get contacts, they want to get the phone numbers, frankly, of all the people around Burnham. Eventually, when they get that, they'll decide that access isn't worth it anymore, and they'll start actually doing journalism again. And as I say, I think there'll be an awful lot of interesting things around Manchester. But for example, you'll never see Andy Burnham, I think probably fair enough, but maybe those on the left wouldn't agree, never see him criticising the United Arab Emirates because they put so much investment into Manchester when they bought Manchester City. Now, I think that's fine, but I wonder how many of the people on the left really think about that if he's ever going to get pushed on it. Ditto all sorts of other deals that end up happening. And let's not forget, of course, that the city of Liverpool, down the road, as you say, where Andy Burnham's actually from, saw so much corruption that the mayor was put in prison and central government had to take it over. So you actually had, at the time, Community Secretary Robert Jenrick directly controlling Liverpool from his desk in London. So I wonder, I think you may be right here, Jez, that it doesn't quite pass the smell test, does it?
And you know, half of me, and I'm being completely straight here, half of me worries that people will be taken in. I'm not having a go at them for that because they're not invested in politics and that's understandable. But what inspires me is that belief that stations like this say to the silent majority, your voice can be heard. For example, Burnham used the official government jet. His right is the Prime Minister to fly to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games and then home on Friday at a cost of £300,000. If he goes home every Friday across the year, I reckon that'll cost him £10 million. So I don't know. I'm loath to sort of I like the messaging. I will not stop to sit here and say, because I remember a socialist government before any of you, because I'm 60, you are so right. They spend money they haven't got until they run out, and then they're voted out of office and run out of town. And it's all lovely and it's all great, and certain radio presenters who I will never name on this station go, all you lot do on talk is cynically say, where's the money coming from? Yeah, I do, because at the end of the day, mate, we're all going to have to pay for this. It sounds great, but money doesn't grow on bloody trees, does it?
You won't name James O'Brien, but it's all right because all the students and unemployed people who listen to him aren't awake yet, Joe, so don't worry about it. I'll name him. But you're exactly right. This is the problem. These guys don't understand how economics works, and we're already hurtling towards the potential of a sovereign debt crisis of some kind of default, because at the moment the cost of borrowing, and this again sounds boring, but I'm never going to stop going on about it, and so you just have to disinvite me. The cost of borrowing is going up and up and up. Yes. They're much higher routinely than it spiked to when Liz Truss was Prime Minister, by the way. So it's so expensive now, more than £100 billion a year, that's a lot of private jet flights for Andy Burnham, is spent just on servicing our debt, not paying it down. And that number gets higher every year as we keep borrowing. So we keep adding to that. We add to our debt pile, we add to the deficit, and we add to that amount of money that we repay. And eventually you'll get to a point where you just won't be able to afford to pay anything else. And we will either default on our debt, in which case, I mean, I can't even imagine how awful that might end up being, or we're going to have to start to learn to live within our means. And that means being a little bit mean to people who just want infinite amounts of other people's money. And that's what's going to have to happen. But the longer this goes on, frankly, the more difficult it's going to be for a future right-wing government to fix it. Because no Labour government leaves office with employment higher than when they found it. Employment is always lower. Unemployment is always higher whenever Labour leave office. They always leave the country in more debt, more weaker, more defence problems, all the rest of it. And it just makes it so difficult for a right-wing government that comes in to clean up the mess afterwards, an even bigger mess to have to fix.
Talking about that, he went on air and he said, with Kunzberg, I don't need to play, I'm ruling out a general election, right? Poppy Coburn and I were talking about this earlier. I think he absolutely will, and so does she, call an early election, because right now the right is divided. Reform have some issues. Certainly Kem is kicking through, but I have to say that the party is still toxic in the mind of voters. Actually, interestingly as well, she made the point the Greens are down to 8% in the latest opinion poll, which means your average left-winger has gravitated back to Burnham. His choice will simply be this. Do I go for 5 years and accept a majority of 30 or 40, 20 to 40, I suspect he could win right now, because people aren't questioning the sweets, and he's, at this moment in time, he's on a bit of a honeymoon period. Then he looks his MPs in the face and goes, you know, 150 of you are going to lose your jobs, but for the greater good, I'm going to do it. I think it's fascinating. Where do you stand on compulsory voting? Apparently he's eyeing it up. He says proposal will mean a £10 fine for those who do not cast a ballot, and with none of the above option to be included. Should you be forced to vote in this country, JP?
I mean, first of all, I think it's really interesting that it just seems such a random assortment of policies that this bloke Andy Burnham goes, oh, do you know what we'll do today? I quite like this idea, let's do that. Doesn't seem like there's any kind of strategy behind any of this stuff, particularly. On this specific issue, I'm actually a little bit torn. One bit of me thinks that it's terrible to compel people to do things that they wouldn't want to do, and I've always been against spending any public money on advertising campaigns to encourage people to vote, because frankly, if you need like an advert at a bus stop to remind you that there's an election happening and that you should go and vote, you probably haven't thought very deeply through all the different options and ideas.
But can I jump in for a reason? You and I, of course, would be, but many people, and I'm not going to insult them because there's a point here, many people are so hacked off with what they see as politics and people who have let them down that they've switched off from it, or people who have just never invested in it, who will fall for the BS that is undoubtedly being spewed from Number 10 in London and Manchester. And I'm not saying it's not good politics. What I'm saying is there has to be an end point. And the end point is there's no money. We are skint. So where's it coming from? You've either got to make cuts or borrow or print or raise taxes. And people need to know that. They have to know that.
Yeah, well, that part of our job is to have these people to get it, I suppose. And if you do have compulsory voting, the thing I like about it is that it does sort of force a greater level of civic
Yeah.
engagement, right? In the same way that a couple of years ago when I did jury service, it was a pain in the bits for 2 weeks, but at least I knew that I was doing something that was contributing to the kind of civic governance of my fellow man.
I've been called up.
Right, and how many other things like that are there? We don't have conscription or draft or national service anymore. We don't have anything that you are compelled to do positively beyond not breaking laws, other than jury service.
Oh no, you can break the law. You can break the law now. You can break the law. It's fine.
Oh well, of course, if you're of a certain disposition and grouping, then we have to.
And you've got anxiety, don't you? You're on PIP. You've got anxiety. Come on, don't be unfair. I'm going to read you this. You'll love this from Paul. Two most iconic addresses in this country, which are revered across the world, are now not worthy of their new incumbents. Buckingham Palace, no longer the home to our monarchy. Number 10 Downing Street, no longer worthy of our new PM. It tells you everything you need to know about my bloody country, says Paul. I think he's right, isn't he?
Well, I wouldn't dare, having said that we shouldn't break the law, dare to commit treason and criticise His Majesty. I think that some of the criticisms of him are a little bit OTT, especially when we've got such a ghastly semi-incumbent of number 10 now. I think that we're very lucky that we have the system that we have.
I'm not criticising the monarchy, and I understand the reasons for moving out of Buckingham Palace, but it is quite interesting. If you think back, you think, right, think about Churchill, Attlee, think of them all, number 10. And then you think of the King, and then the Queen, number 10, Buckingham Palace. Now, St James's Palace, where my old man worked, it's just an office, Buckingham Palace, although there's a room out the back for old Ginge, he's coming home, isn't he? And then number 10 up north. I do want to finish with you, because I love having you on this show more than anything. There's two stories I'd like you to concentrate on, please, if you could, JP. An Albanian drug dealer, we today report, will not be deported because his daughter wets the bed, he told a court last week. The girl needed therapeutic intervention due to her accidents, which worsened during his time in jail, where he served 2 years for his role in a money-laundering drug gang. But irrespective of that, the judge said, no, it's not fair that your daughter wets the bed, despite the fact she's 36. No, that was a joke. So you can stay in this country. Honestly, what is wrong with us? He's an Albanian drug dealer.
Pardon the puns, Jez, because I know we're before the watershed, but that really is taking the pee, isn't it?
That was good. Diversity and equality initiatives have cost the British police £631 million since 2020. Police forces are defying the High Court trans ruling as well by continuing to put biological men in women's cells.
I mean, you get story after story of this stuff, doesn't it? And it would be boring if it wasn't so terrifying and so horrendous and hideous that we've got all this stuff going on. I just think that we should play the thought experiment of when we're old people and we look back and try and explain this period to our grandchildren, they're going to say, you did what? Right, it's in the same way that when you look back at some of the stuff in 2020 now, some of the totally bonkers things, police officers taking the knee in front of in front of Downing Street because protesters says, yes, hands up, don't shoot, to a bunch of unarmed police.
And walking through the park and saying to your wife, God, we've had 57 minutes, we need to get home, we've only got an hour this morning, otherwise this disease is going to kill us all.
Better get away from all that fresh air, right, during a respiratory virus. Just absolutely bonkers. All, by the way, from the people that said trust the science and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Michael Gove was right. We are tired of so-called experts, and I'd like to go back to actual experts, and police should focus on policing rather than any of this woke nonsense. That shouldn't be a controversial thing to say.
No, but it is, and to finish, I mean, woke nonsense or the mood of the nation. Do you remember Care Bears?
Vaguely. Yeah. I'm a caring bear, I think.
Some teddy bears are trans, as a taxpayer-backed art group. Now, it's gone, yeah. Some teddy bears are trans. They don't even have genital... I know, JP. I mean, we're not pretending to be intelligent, but Jesus Christ, man, what's going on? Honestly.
Look, I know I'm, as the kids say, Nixon Maxing, wearing my Richard Nixon jumper today. But the teddy bear is named after Theodore Roosevelt, a man who was a sickly young boy and managed through his own efforts of a strenuous life to turn himself into this great hulking cowboy bull of a man who charged up a hill during war against the Spanish in Cuba and killed a man and went on to become president and all the rest of it. Imagine telling him, he'd be so happy to know that teddy bears were named after him and that he spread joy to millions of kids, and then try and tell him that some of those teddy bears are trans. I mean, imagine the death stare that he would give you.
Mate, I cannot tell you how much I love... In a world where I increasingly feel that I'm going and losing the plot, JP is my balance. Thank you, James Price. Love you. Thanks for coming on. Julie, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Julie here from Norfolk, number 10 North. I suspect that's been in the planning since Louise Hay got sacked from government. She's been next to Andy all the way where this coup, getting rid of Starmer's concerned. And as they say, have no fury like a woman scorned.
Looks absolutely nothing like a jail, which is, of course, where Rudabakana should be rotting. This manipulative monster has clearly hoodwinked people into transferring him, I should say, from prison to one of these hospitals. People will argue that it is secure, and it is, but it's not prison. He will be in a room and not a cell, and that is a huge, huge difference.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 7:25. Where have you been? This is Jeremy Carlin, Talk Breakfast, the home of common sense. We're waking up to Andy Burnham, the man who today wants to plot to crack down youth sickness benefits. Hurrah! How are you going to do that, then? He comes in a day where we discover that teen anxiety pays more than going to work. He wants to make voting compulsory. In fact, let's be honest, he wants to spend money on defence, social care and everything, and it's all very admirable and the political messaging looks great, but we are in a position on this station where we have to say, how are you going to pay for it? That is the responsible thing that we have to do. Graham, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Graham from Essex here. Burnham, he won't last a year. And as regards this compulsory voting, God, he's really asking for trouble. People will be screaming about their right not to vote. Where's democracy? He's a totalitarian. Yeah, he won't last. Anyway, great show, Jeremy. Keep it up.
I wish Jan pictures of him cutting mushrooms, so he's obviously got some ability. This is, if you could hear, sometimes when we think back to how television used to be, they used to do sort of, you know, stuff in the background, off-the-wall stuff. If you could hear some of the stuff that goes on, Christian, during the break, this is what he said. He said, yeah, I don't think he's going to last. He said he can't tie a tie knot very well and his shirts are a bit floppy in the collar, they need to be stiffer. Brilliant, thanks for that. Incisive as ever. We say a very good morning to a man who is about 1,000 dates into a 10,000 date tour, the legend that is Peter Blakeslee. Morning, PB, how are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm a firm believer in the use of collar stiffeners. Yeah. I think curly collars are the enemy.
So in the old days, the old man used to tell me, you'd have the shirt and the collar was detached and you'd put it on. It would be starched and firm and you'd put it on with studs. He always said that to me. I'm not very good at button-down collars and all that crap. I think no, that's no good. Before I ask you about the police, you legend, What's your view? I mean, I think we have to be honest. A week in, Burnham's comms and his PR is infinitely better than Starmer's, although the bar was very low. But he seems to be promising an awful lot. And there are certain other radio presenters who have had a go at this station and me and said all they go on about is moaning about things instead of being positive. Well, because, Pete, how are we going to pay for all this stuff unless he raises taxes, which affects every alarm clock Brit, doesn't it?
I think somebody needs to tell the Prime Minister that talk's cheap, but a lot of his policies are going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
And so how do you square that circle? It'll be very interesting to see when the honeymoon period is long gone, and it won't take long, when the people, the number crunchers, get their calculators out and really do some in-depth research. When people like the police perhaps step forward and say, OK, so if you make voting compulsory, what happens if somebody doesn't vote? Who's going to enforce that? You know, these sound bites are great. They're clearly hitting home with some people, but it's the small print. Yeah. Read the small print. That's where he'll get undone.
Where do you stand on compulsory voting as an option?
I think it flies in the face of democracy, to be perfectly honest with you. And I go back to my point I made just a minute ago. Who's going to enforce it? Yeah. It's all very well saying this kind of stuff, but if somebody refuses to vote, then how and who is going to enforce that law? And what is the punishment going to be? Are you going to lock people up? We haven't got any room in the prisons. We all know that. So think it out. Come on, let's see the detail. Detail is what I want to see.
Yeah, I think you're right, and you know, we've been digging this morning about Manchester, not Manchester, number 10 North. I mean, it seems the lease and everything was agreed even before the by-election. So this is obviously a plan that's been in place for quite a while. And look, you know, it was a coup that worked. Somebody sent me a funny text saying, "Do you think that Starmer was complicit in this takeover because he was intentionally useless and did it all so Burnham could get in?" Which is quite funny. Pete, let's talk police. Report this morning in most papers. The diversity... Watch Peter Blokes' face. Diversity and equality initiatives have cost British police £631 million since 2020. So what's that? About 100 million a year spent on diversity and equality on the same day that it's discovered that police forces are defying the High Court trans ruling by continuing to put biological men in women's cells. Your thoughts, my friend?
No, here we go. Those two thorny subjects which modern British policing fails to get a grip of, race and gender. And why have we got ourselves in such a pickle as a nation over race and gender? Because woke, intolerant, liberal progressives, as they would call themselves, have introduced policy after policy which is complete and utter drivel and wastes our hard-earned taxes. Let's deal with the race issue here. Only last week, a university lecturer in policing, a former police officer, went public and said on a social media platform about an experience that he had when a colleague was struggling with a black person.
Yeah.
And he said he would not fire a taser because as far as he was concerned, physical injuries heal, an allegation of racism would stick. And that is somebody that lectures in policing at a British university today. Somebody that should be as far away from policing as you can possibly get them. And this is the type of drivel that we're up against. But it's dangerous drivel, absolutely dangerous. And that would mean if that officer had been policing alongside a colleague who was getting battered by a black person, they wouldn't have helped him. The police really need to get a grip here.
Could not agree more. And 600+ million on diversity and equality. And I said this before and I'll say it again, there was much in the past I disagreed with, but we have swung the barometer so far the other way that now diversity is seemingly all about, you know, tick boxing, and that doesn't make any sense. This will be a story that will get the full PB approach. We learned today, Pete, that an Albanian drug dealer is not going to be deported in court because he convinced the judge that because his daughter wets the bed, the girl needed therapeutic intervention during due to her instance, which she can only get in this country. Her condition worsened whilst he was in jail for his role in a money laundering drug gang. So he's Albanian, another foreign criminal, but you can stay, don't worry about it. So all this crap from Burnham about I'm going to cure homelessness, how many, think of that Samara Gill thing, how many of these people, it infuriates me that and boats, whatever I think about Burnham, he hasn't mentioned at all, has he?
No, because it's difficult. It'll be challenging. And does he have the ideological willpower to actually tackle these issues and deal with them? There's one thing that comes clearly out of this story, and that is that the judge who made the decision is clearly a fellow bedwetter. And that's why they had so much sympathy with this drug dealer's daughter. It's absolutely preposterous and insulting and dangerous, because in all likelihood, I suggest this criminal will go on to commit yet further crime. The stats bear that out. He should be booted out of the country, never to return. This country is becoming increasingly dangerous, unfortunately, and we need to have an establishment that serves the British people, that abides by Supreme Court judgments, that listens to people when they say race action plans are divisive and are discriminatory, and bring back to standards that we used to apply to. I know there was lots of problems with race back in the day with policing. I know that. But they have taken steps forward. The trouble is they're going way off the pathway now, and they're coming up with all this drivel.
Two light-hearted things to finish. How's the tour going, by the way?
Thank you very much. 94 shows done. Only about 65 left to do. Guernsey on Friday, it's sold out. But then I've got a 4-week break in August from touring. We'll be back in September with another 65 dates, the length and breadth of the country.
I'm thinking the team and I are going to come to Greenwich. Would that be all right?
That would be wonderful. I think that's the 28th of September. Be fantastic to see you there.
I'm going to shout out, "Oi, Blexley, how much you getting for this?" No, I'm not. Right, first ever Saturday job. Peter Blexley, back in the 20s. What was it?
Back in the 20s. Well, I had newspaper rounds for many, many years. Then I sold kidney donor lottery cards. And then my first full-time job was working in a warehouse in Walworths.
And final question, I want a straight face here. Well, it's not a question, it's a story. I'd like your reaction to this shocking news story this morning, PB. Care Bears, do you remember them?
No.
A taxpayer-backed arts group has admitted this morning that some teddy bears are trans. Peter Blexley.
Well, this feeds in nicely to the story that we touched on about Staffordshire Police putting people that identify as women into women's cells when, in fact, they may have the genitalia of a man. I've decided today that should Staffordshire Police arrest me, I will identify as a pomegranate, and therefore I fully expect to be detained in a greengrocer's.
I love you, man. We love you, love you, love you. Go online to look for his tour. It's the best. Thank you, Peter Blexley. He's identifying as a pomegranate. That would be fun today. Anybody got any suggestions? 87222. What should we all... What could I identify as? And I'm going to get messages now. A crap radio presenter. What should Jeremy Kyle identify as we head towards a different world? Nigel, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Nigel from Brighton here. I don't know if you've been following, but the BBC's been trailing all weekend their landmark interview with the great Laura Koonsberg and Andy Burnham, which I believe airs tonight on Panorama. But they've been leaking out trailers and sound bites of it all weekend. But I asked myself two questions. One, why didn't he do a live interview? And two, I asked myself, why is there no questions about the small boats crisis?
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 23 minutes to 8 o'clock. Loads of people wanting to get hold of the show. First, the Labour, this is from Jackie, the Labour spin machine is working overtime to destroy reform, and we're being drip-fed small announcements that most voters will find agreeable. I agree. The daft media is falling for this nonsense. Ask him why he wants devolution. Is it to carry on the regions for when he rejoins the EU? Ask him about the small boats. Keep going, Talk on our behalf. Morning, Jez. Russell in Devon. My first job was working in the pro shop at my local golf course. This is because we discovered today that 75,000 Saturday jobs have been lost under this government. Tim's in Taunton, which is why he calls himself Taunton Tim. My first job when I was 10, picking up spuds on a farm, 50p an hour. Now 58 years of age and trying to avoid earning any money because I'll have to be taxed on the whole bloody thing. Morning, John in Bury. Do you know that there's black pudding and white pudding in Bury? I bet you didn't. You see? See? I went and did a show there in Bury Market. You can have black pudding and white pudding, balanced. Morning, pal. First job was a petrol pump attendant in the 60s. Summer holidays was on a farm, labouring. Have a great day. Hello to Johanna. Jez, I earned my pocket money learning to do my father's accounts at 12 years of age. Jesus. First teenage job, Sardina Bakery, serving customers with the ovens behind me. Great in the winter, but in a heat wave, I blacked out and they put me in the freezer section. 12 quid a week. See, proper job. It's true. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222 you with the home of common sense. Margaret's a bit confused. Direct message for Andy Burnham. I want to send a letter or a comment to the Prime Minister. Where the bloody hell do I send it? Number 10 London or number 10 Manchester? Won't get to Manchester, it's too far north. I'm joking. This was Andy Burnham, by the way, in the Koonsberg. Oh, no. This was him on Friday. Very happy with his new office. Happiest day of my life. Go, Andy!
I cannot tell you what a proud moment this is. I think this might be the best day of my life. I'm not joking either. I know you think I am, but I'm not. Things are just completely coming full circle here for me. And to be here with you all in the heart of Manchester this Friday morning at the end of, you know, a fairly big week is just everything to me.
No truth in the room. Well, I say no truth. We don't know if it's true that he got an absolute massive telling off when he got home, when he said to his wife the happiest day of his life was number 10 North, and she went, great, we've been married all these years, you bugger. Let's say a very good morning to the former Labour Special Advisor. We love this man. Balance is what the show's about. Paul Richards, how are you, my friend?
Hello, very well, thank you very much.
I was thinking your initials would be very useful to the Labour Party right now because their PR and their marketing, and I'm being straight with you, and I started the show and I started with you. I think he's so much better at politics than Starmer. I think the announcements will cause a lot of people to go, whoa. But I just want to say something because, look, I mean, the Greens, their vote seems to have collapsed. The traditional left wing seems to be coming back to Burnham. There's no doubt Reform have some issues and the right is split. But, Paul, this station was attacked over the weekend, which is fine. Certain commentators saying, all you lot do is you're being negative and you're saying, where's the money coming from? But I have a duty to alarm clock Brits to say, we've got the highest taxation in 70 years. This all sounds great, but how the bloody hell's he going to pay for it? That's a fair thing to ask, isn't it?
It's an entirely fair thing to ask, and we're all asking the same question. That's what budgets are for. So we'll have a budget which will set out the tax and the spend plans of the government in due course. And in the meantime, he's announcing these things to show intent and show a bit of leg, you know, and to say, look, I think the country could be fairer, so let's get a pound off the bus fares. And everyone says, oh, it's only £1 off the bus fares. Well, if you're doing a journey 5 days a week and, you know, that extra pound adds up over a month, it's just a little bit extra in your pocket. And it's a sign that the government is on your side and they haven't put the fares up, which is the alternative to...
I do say this, so, you know, he appears... These things are
incremental and small, but they add up to a government that looks like it has a certain kind of trajectory, a certain movement.
Well, I would say that it sums up a government that looks like it understands the soundings that people have given it. However, two things, and this is important. Do we not think that Keir Starmer would have done all of this if there was a magic money tree. Let's take this morning. I absolutely agree with them. A crackdown on youth sickness benefits in an effort to reduce the 333 welfare bill. But you know as well as I do, Paul, that Keir Starmer tried to do this. He was trying to knock £5 billion, which is about 2% at the very best, off this bill, and the Parliamentary Labour Party nearly brought him down over that. How's Andy Burnham going to get this through? Are they all going to sit on their hands and say, oh, yes, you're the Messiah?
I think you hit the nail on the head a little earlier when you said he's very good at politics. Andy Burnham is very good at politics. He has a huge reservoir of goodwill in that Parliamentary Labour Party who want him to succeed. I mean, the sort of bloodless coup of getting rid of Keir Starmer and putting in Burnham shows that there is this kind of desire to get on with it. And I think they'll give him a lot of latitude. I think they'll give him a lot of slack. And if he can present a plan that looks like it can save money without punishing the very poorest people who do deserve some benefits, then I think they'll back it in a way they probably didn't with Starmer. And John Healey, similarly as the Chancellor. By the way, I predicted that on this show, if you remember.
You did. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I said this.
I wish we should have clipped that, and I should have, I should have put that all over my socials, shouldn't I?
I'm telling you, absolutely. Paul Richards was the only bloke who caught. Find that clip for me, because he did. He said Healey, and I remember when it happened, thinking, PR was right. On a serious note, right? I get that, and I think we agree. But you would understand. Right, so if it was me, two things, and this isn't criticisms. I want to hear about the boats. Millions and millions of people want to hear about the boats, right? I want to hear about drilling and net zero. We're hearing about welfare. But you have to say, he might be good at politics. He might be better than Starmer in that. Where is the money going to come from? Because most of us who aren't in line with that but want our country to succeed would say Labour's history is we'll tax to pay for money that we haven't got or borrow. That's out the window. We're 100 billion in debt. Where's the money coming from, Paul?
Well, as I say, we're going to have a budget which will set out the tax and the spend. I don't think he's somebody who wants to go down the route of sort of punitive taxes, because he knows that doesn't actually have the impact you think it does. It just means rich people leave the country or dodge the tax one way or the other. But I think he does believe in fair taxes, and I think there are things that you can do. And I would also say he understands the need to have efficiency. So he's talking about getting some of these people fiddling the welfare system onto the right level of payments. Well, that's going to save a vast amount of money without raising a single tax, because he's saying basically there are people getting money that shouldn't be.
But I go back to it. Keir Starmer said that, and the Labour Party threw it out. I mean, I would love my Prime Minister, whatever party he is, to stand and say, which I'm being honest with you, I've never heard this, that of the 8 million people that are claiming whatever it is, I suspect there's a large number who are taking the P out of a system and gaming it. And I've never heard, because this is me being honest, whenever Starmer tries to do it, and in the past, the Labour Party it's abhorrent, these poor people. Yes, there are poor people, but they are missing out because people are gaming the system. I think it's an absolute win for him if he actually stands up and says there are people taking the mickey out of this system.
Well, I think he will, because it's obvious that there are hundreds of thousands, particularly of young people, not in education, employment or training, who are getting money that they could be using to get them back into work and apprenticeships and training. And I think you'll see a massive shift on that. I mean, it feels like a breath of fresh air to me. I think although we're halfway through a parliament, actually it feels like a new government. On the small boats, of course he's going to have to talk about small boats, but more importantly, he's going to have to do something about it, because the government will be judged on the success there. They're pointing to the fact that numbers are down, but every single one is too many. So he's going to take action there. Putting Jo White into that job, she's a pretty tough cookie for immigration. You sacked Mike Tapp, as you know, and put Jo White in to do that, and she's going to be a no-nonsense minister in that role. And keeping Shabana Mahmood as Home Secretary, with some pretty tough ideas around immigration overall, is another sign of intent. So I think, let's give the guy a little slack. It's only day 7 or something. He's making a big speech on social care this week. But he's going to have to address immigration and illegal immigration particularly before too long. And you see, and like I say, it's not about the talk, it's about doing it and then getting those policies in place that make the difference. So, it's a government that it just feels so revived. There is a kind of a sense of hope I think, which we haven't seen for years. That's why people attack the naysayers. You know, when the naysayers, oh, it's all awful, people just give the guy a little bit of a chance.
Yeah, but the problem with that is I completely agree, and I'm a patriot who wants my country to succeed. But what concerns me, and I'm being honest with you, is when you give out all this stuff, which is good politics, when you're in a position where there's no House of Commons because it's in recess, so you're not being picked apart, you can do this. There are millions of people, and don't tell me the Labour Party haven't thought about this, who don't question politicians or their motives or feel that they've been failed. They'll go and hear, and you know this because you're smiling already, the bus fare's cheaper and the VAT's coming off and all those sorts of things. And I think we have a right in the media. No, in fact, I think we have a duty because of the position this country is in, and that's not just down to Labour. I've been incredibly critical of the Tories, incredibly critical in the past. I think people need to switch on more. Where you know, the compulsory voting, all this sort of stuff, people will have their opinions. I want people to question this. That's not being a naysayers. I've just heard too much BS over the last 20 years. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, I think we need a much higher level of political engagement. And by the way, the devolution idea, giving more power to people in their communities, is part of that. So people feel that their votes and their say actually have an impact. I'm not personally in favour of this think tank idea of compulsory voting, and we've been discussing this for decades. I remember Tom Watson, who was the deputy leader of the Labour Party, wrote a pamphlet in support of this, 25 years ago. To me, it puts us in the same category as paying tax. A bad thing that we all have to do or will get punished, rather than a positive celebration. I love sitting outside polling stations. I love watching people coming in to vote, often bringing in their 18-year-old kids, voting for the first time, people coming in, with a sense of duty, but also a little bit of celebration. It's a marvellous, wonderful thing. In that moment, the power belongs to the people, and the idea that you fine folks for not doing it and make it into a chore that you have to do, otherwise the state...
My theory is a little bit different to that. I'm sort of open-minded. I cannot have people moaning and bitching about whatever party's in power if they haven't what I think is their democratic right, and they haven't done that. Final question very quickly. He was quite vehement when he spoke to Kunzberg, saying, I will rule out a general election. He'd be stupid to too, but he'd be stupid too, and that is a lie, because here's the thing, the Greens vote has collapsed, because they're down to 8%. The Reform are having issues, the right are split. Would he trade 150 MPs to get 5 years of his own mandate? There's a question for you.
If he was planning a snap election after the conference season coming up, he was speaking in Liverpool in a few months' time. If he was going to do a snap election, of course, this is today is exactly what he would say. He would lay down some smoke. And then
Do you think he will? Do you think he will?
I think it's a possibility. I think, all politicians, we give our prime ministers the right constitutionally to say when the election is, and it's always in their, they'd have to game it to their favour. Sometimes they get horribly wrong, like Gordon Brown did. Sometimes they get it right, but I think he's a politician to his fingertips, and I think he may well be considering it at least. And of course, if he is considering it, the last thing he needs to do is 3 months of speculation. So he rules it out now, and then possibly announces something. Who knows? But that is within our constitution his right. We give him that power to do it. So let's see.
Mate, great to have you on. Seriously, it's important to me that we get all sides. Really appreciate your time. Love having you on.
Stiffeners. Look, I got my collar stiffeners out especially just to prove that I'm a great fan of collar stiffeners and a stiff collar.
You got that shirt from Charles Truett, didn't you?
Yeah, that's a Charles Truett.
I know. I can see. I'm not that blind. Legend Paul.
Other shirt shops are available, I should say.
No, we want freebies from Charles Truett. I don't give a toss. Paul Richards, thank you very much indeed. 10 to 8. Let's get a view from Reform UK's Chief Advisor on Global Affairs and the Executive Director of the Henry Jackson Society, Dr. Alan Mendoza. Alan, good morning.
Hello, Jeremy.
So much to throw at you. I wanted to play you a clip, Burnham on Trump. He's apparently hosting Zelensky today, but over the weekend he was asked about Donald Trump. I'd love to gauge your opinion. This is Burnham on Trump, Pete.
I am that kind of politician. I always will judge people as I find them. I've lived my whole life by that, and I found him to be really warm on Monday.
Say you'll feel your way. You're not sure at this stage that you can place your trust in him as a fellow leader.
It's a changing world, isn't it? And you just have to obviously call things as they develop.
And in that
I can't
world,
at any point say that I won't take a different opinion from him.
You'd be willing to call Donald Trump out if you think that's the right thing?
Of course. I mean, you've got to go into this. All leaders have to do that. You have to defend your own national interest before anything else. That's what you're required to do if you're to do this job properly. I will always put Britain's interest first.
Alan, what have you made of that, and what have you made of the last week under Andy Burnham? Lots of sweets to give away, not much explanation about payment. Where's your view?
Well, the first thing to note, of course, is just in the clip you played. Well, he's right, of course, about national interest. I mean, a British Prime Minister obviously has to put the national interest first. I would be curious to know, though, what he thinks the national interest actually is. Can he define what the British national interest is? Because his predecessor certainly couldn't, and there's been no suggestion so far that he can do better. So if you don't even know what your national interest is, you're not really going to be able to have an effective foreign policy. So I think we start from that sort of setup. Secondly, if you look at the people he's put into the foreign-facing roles, Foreign Secretary and Defence Secretary, these are not instinctive, Atlanticists per se. I mean, both Ed Miliband and Wes Streeting have opposed the US at various times over the last 20, 30 years. So he's not sending very clear, mood music out that he's a sort of friend of the US to start with. But, more generally, I've taken to calling him uncosted Andy, because every proposal he comes up with, nobody knows where the money's going to come from. So I do wonder, if this week we're going to see more proposals with, again, no clue as to how they're going to be funded, and a bigger and bigger black hole developing on the financial side.
So we get called, I only bring this up, it doesn't matter who it is, but a couple of outlets were saying, oh, you're just being cynical on talk. You won't give the guy a chance, you keep talking about costing. But costing is very important. We've got the highest taxation we've had in 70 years, and I think people have a right to know. And if they don't invest in doing it themselves, then certain parts of the media, like us, have a duty, do we not, to say, it all might sound great, but your taxes are going to go up in a budget because there's no bloody way this can be paid for.
Absolutely. And here's, of course, the difference between, kind of blind optimism and sensible, policy. I mean, throwing out gifts left, right and centre sounds brilliant. And everyone goes, oh, stop criticising the gifts. But there's always a bill for the gifts. Ultimately, someone has to pay. And that somebody is you, the viewer. And that's the problem here, that we have a situation where he has been giving out these gifts left, right and centre. We don't know where they're going to be paid for. The obvious fact is that somebody has to pay for them. And you're right to keep on asking the questions, because he's not giving the answers.
What have you made? I think the depth in terms of payments important, but he's more polished than Starmer. Not that that's a high bar. It's quite well written that at the moment Reform are having a few issues. They're being attacked in certain areas about donations. Don't want to get into too much of that. Safe to say, is it now the time for Andy Burnham? You see the Greens vote is collapsing because the left have decided to go behind him rather than Dave. Is this, do you think, the time that he will call an early election despite his protestations, because everybody else seems to be on the back foot?
Yeah, I would question whether actually Reform is on the back foot. I think there's a lot going on, beneath the scenes that people don't necessarily know about. And there's a lot of building taking place in preparation for an early election, which, of course, we want. We want the country to have that say, because we had a Prime Minister who suggests he has a very different agenda to his predecessor coming in, and we think it's important the country gets a say on whether they want that agenda to happen or not. But I think the temptation must be there for him. If he gets a big bounce in the polls over the next few weeks, just by virtue of his newness and by, sort of having a different pose, and then he sees what's happening, politically elsewhere, and I think you're right to highlight that collapse of the Green vote. If he can hoover up the entire progressive vote as he sees it, he will think, I actually fancy it. And the man is a bit of a gambler. I mean, he gambled to get into Parliament, to be fair to him. He took a gamble, it worked out. He might think, I'm on a roll here, let's go for the next gamble.
The other thing I want to ask you, front page of the Mail, Streeting has only been in the job a week, it's already been hot mic'd. I will quit if defence plan falls short. Poppy Coburn nailed this for me earlier. She said, that's clever. Because, of course, Healey's the Chancellor. He was the one who said, I'm going to go. They think that they're all going to find the money. Where's the money from defence going to come from? Because the one thing they won't do is end the stupid 11 billion in foreign aid. They won't... all of that. Why wouldn't you do that?
Well, all the talk is an increase in foreign aid, not a decrease at the moment. A sense that we might be getting up to 0.7% of GDP again. So, you know, there's going to be more money that's going to be needed. But I think it is, look, it's good that the street said that, because I think, you know, you have to set out your stall early on the key question, which is that if your predecessor, but one, resigned because he felt the country would not be safe without a certain level of defence spending, it would be madness for any successor to come in and accept a lower standard now that that man is the Chancellor. So I think it's obvious he's done that. And of course, he may still be thinking, well, you know, the ball may come loose from the scrum pretty quickly, given that, you know, nobody knows anything, all this is being paid for. Maybe it'll be a Liz Truss-style prime ministership.
I could not agree more. Alan, it's always a pleasure, mate. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on. Reform's Chief Advisor on Global Affairs, Dr. Alan Mendoza. He'll be on again soon. Got the news at 8, by the way. Bob Seeley, legend. Dr. Bob Seeley, former Conservative MP and military expert, is next on Talk Breakfast.
Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago, he wasn't even an MP. The next, he's holding keys to number 10.
You know what? I'm trying so hard not to be cynical about it all, but I'm trying to keep, not hope. I'm sick of hearing about hope already. He's only been in government for 5 minutes, but I want them to succeed because I want Britain to succeed.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome along and welcome back. It's gone 8 o'clock. We're live across the UK. It would talk, of course, the home of common sense and the home of you, the alarm clock Brit. You're waking up to the second week of Andy Burnham's premiership. Today, he's going to plot a crackdown, this is good, on new sickness benefits in an effort to reduce the £333 billion welfare bill as he scrambles to find billions of pounds for everything that he's been promising, like your buses and your VAT and social care and defence, and all that's great. And certain outlets are going, no, you're just cynical on Talk. All you do is knock this man. Well, I want to know how it's going to be paid for. And I don't think it's wrong to say that, because we've got the highest taxation in, what, history? And actually, at the end of the day, we should be questioning not the motives behind that, but Keir Starmer tried to dock £5 billion off a £330 billion bill and got absolutely trounced by the Parliamentary Labour Party. So my question is, and I said it last week, does Burnham have the political capital to sit them down and go, listen, you're all going to lose your bloody jobs if you don't do something about understanding the problems? Cynically, I've heard nothing about the boats. I want to hear that, as I think millions do. He's also eyeing up compulsory voting with a fine if you don't. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. I'm a bit torn. 87222 is the text. But I want to talk about number 10 North. Listen, it's been a bloodless coup, and in many ways, one of the most impressive political coups ever. It's just that it started to bother us that so much seemed to be organised. Like the bus the day after he became Prime Minister was already painted. Number 10 North, within 5 days he'd opened it, complete with contracts, furnishings, services, security, a logo, printed signs and banners. He held his first official meeting there on Friday, so it was the happiest day of his life. Got told off by his wife when he went home, but anyway. Listen to this that we found out. 11th of May, Manchester City Council agreed to lease second-floor Heron House. Name of tenant, unknown. 14th of May, Josh Simmons resigns as MP for Makerfield, allowing Andy Burnham to step in. 10th of June, 8 days before the by-election, Manchester City Council confirms Heron House lease agreement. So, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, it's been planned for a while. Morning, Sean.
Morning, Jeremy. Sean from Grimsby. This number 10 in the north, in Manchester, what does it actually means? It means that for 1 day a week, the same incompetent people that we have in Westminster are going to travel north to Manchester to be just as incompetent from Manchester. It's the same people. Nothing's going to change. They're still not going to listen to us. It's just going to happen from Manchester. That's it. That is literally it, mate. Great show.
Now, I don't want you to think that this programme is ever thought through, because Christian and I have just come up with a great... Well, he has, whilst we're in the toilet, trying to avoid looking at each other. Anyway, it's true. So Christian just said to me, we should launch Talk North, right? Well, let's... I haven't checked the money. Don't expect me to have budgeted this or spoken to the bosses, but I'd like your suggestions. Let's take North Talk North, once a week on a Friday. I'll do a show from up there on a Friday, all right? Talk North, 87222. Where, when and how? I'd love to hear from you. When should we do it? Where should we do it, more importantly, and how are we going to pay for it? Talk North is on my agenda. Let's say a very good morning to the former Conservative MP and military expert, Bob Seeley. Morning, Bob.
Morning to you. Morning to your listeners.
I'm taking Talk North because I think it'd be a nice idea. Did you read that time? Did you read the time frame of the Burnham thing? They got the lease and everything.
Yes.
Before. It does beg...
Yeah,
quite an impressive coup, Bob, right?
It was very impressive. By the way, I'm in Ukraine. You should do Talk Kiev.
There's a good... Right. Forget the North. We're going to Ukraine. Are you? How long have you been there for, kiddo?
Just a few days for work. But yeah, no, I saw this, and look, it's a very well-skilled plot. Clearly, it was happening months before, as Louise Hay, I think, admitted. So yeah, look, it's all. It's incredibly cynical, but it is what it is. That's politics. He was planning to oust poor old Starmer for months, and eventually he got there. And Starmer was doing such a lamentable job that anyone seems better.
I just wanted to ask you, we'll talk military in a minute. By the way, it's slightly ironic you're in the Ukraine because Zelensky's here. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah, I did, yes.
I'm the wrong way like that. No chance of you seeing him. On a serious note, people will say, oh, you're being cynical, you're trying to work out, and question where the money's coming from. I think that's an absolute responsibility the media should have, and I think some of the mainstream are a disgrace in not doing it. I'm glad about the buses. I like the thought of VAT. I like the crackdown on youth sickness benefit. I like all these things are sweets. But are we not failing as politicians and broadcasters if we don't say, sorry, do you not think, however lamentable Starmer was, that if he could have done something that was good, he would have found it? So where the bloody hell, Andy, have you suddenly found all this money? Because you and I know that the truth, and I'm not moaning here, is that every single Labour government in history has promised so much and they end up either borrowing, printing or raising taxes.
Yeah, they always. You're right. They always end up running out of other people's money. And also, I mean, look, last week was all about vibes and mood. So if you look at the detail, it was pretty thin. But the BBC and other mainstream organisations, they're not looking in close detail because they're saying, oh, Andy's being nice to pubs and Andy's going to be basically going after that reform vote by cracking down on sickness benefit, etc. But then look at the detail. The pubs are going to be about 1,500 quid off a year. So what is it? 15p a day? I don't know. Given what they've had, the hammering they've had from the national insurance risers, it's small change. And other businesses are going to be paying for it. So there's a bit of robbing Peter to pay Paul. I love the idea of actually making pubs more viable because they're very, very important institutions in our country. Actually pretty good for mental health. Drinking with other people moderately is much better than getting slammed at home watching the telly, So actually there is lots of reasons we want to encourage pubs. And I love the idea of us doing that. But 1,500 quid for a pub a year, given all the tax rises on them, it's nothing. It is literally small beer. When it comes to the other stuff like crackdown and benefits, I mean, I'll see it when I believe it. I wish we did have. There are billions you could take off the benefits bill. There's billions you could take off net zero. Are they realistically going to do it?
I mean, that's my point. I started last week by saying, surely he has political capital amongst those 400 MPs who have pretty seismically got rid of Starmer. Has he got the balls to stand in front of them and go, I don't care whether you like it or not. Starmer tried to knock, what, 5 billion off a £333 billion bill and was absolutely castigated and voted down to the point where it was ludicrous. Are they going to listen to him, or is that left-wing element that sees everybody that's on benefits, even those who are gaming the system as needy and we should do this, that and the other? I like the words. I'm utterly yet to be convinced that he can either afford it or will go through with it.
Jeremy, I completely agree. I mean, he has undoubtedly got more capital, and I think Labour MPs are slightly bricking it, pardon the expression.
No.
And I think they are willing to do things that they might not have been willing to do 6 months ago. So if anyone could pull it off, potentially Burnham can, and he's playing a clever game of talking left to the Labour Party and talking right-wing Labour to the rest of the country. And that's what a lot of people who worry about immigration, who worry about tax, who worry about all these other things that the state just hasn't been gripping, both under the last Tory government, sad to say, and under this one. I just think there's a lot of stuff that people want to hear, but the problem is you can't ride both horses for long. What he's done, he's very clever, Jeremy. He said, we're not having a parliament for a couple of months now, and I'm not bringing back parliament, so I'm going to control my news agenda. So
Yeah, the narrative. He's not being questioned by anybody, is he? He's not being questioned by anybody.
And the BBC have given him an incredibly easy hide. It was like, to be honest, I don't listen to the BBC anymore, but I was watching it just very briefly just to see their reaction. And the reaction was like it was a sort of, really exciting moment. Isn't it great? Andy's taken over.
Yeah.
If this had been Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, it would have been Tories in chaos, Tories in chaos. Was there any Labour in chaos? Not a lot.
I completely agree about the BBC, and people think I'm cynical. You watch the BBC; they are desperate for this man to succeed. One thing he said at the weekend on the Kunzberg interview, which I totally disagree with, and I agree with Poppy Coburn, who nailed this earlier. I think he will call an election. Is he prepared to trade 150 MPs? I mean, the Green vote's collapsing. Dave's now only got 8% from 18. We know that reform are being questioned in several ways. That's fine. The Tory party, no disrespect, I'm a big fan of Chemis, but the brand is still toxic. I don't care what anybody says. They haven't moved. And you think to yourself, if you're Andy Burnham, if I give out some sweets for 6 weeks, I do the party conference and I'm a few points in front. He says he wouldn't go for it. I absolutely think he would, don't you?
Personally, I think he'll bottle it because you've got a massive majority. You can do what you want for 3 years. And I would take that rather than an implosion because you don't know what's going to happen. So I see it. And again, with all this stuff, I see it when I believe it. But I find it very hard to believe that he would do that and actually risk being the shortest term Prime Minister in history, given, Liz Truss.
Final question before I move on to the military. And I ask you this as an experienced parliamentarian. I thought that Sir Lindsay Hoyle had made an absolute rod for everybody's back and said that all announcements on policies, he goes mad if ministers don't bring it to the House. Is he going to go mad on this, or does your man get away with it because they're in recess?
I think he's going to get away with it because they're in recess. Lindsay may say a few blunt words when he gets back, but he'll be ignored by the Labour Party. That Lindsay Hoyle ticking them off is the least of their problems.
Let's talk militarily. Interesting, on the front page of the Daily Mail this morning, we know Wes Streeting, I will quit if defence plan falls short. We know that John Healey, his predecessor, who is now, ironically, the Chancellor, quit Starmer's government and said, you will not commit to the money that's needed to defend this nation. It's been a bugbear for a long, long time. He ends up as Chancellor, which could be seen as genius. You wanted the money, go find it. Wes Streeting, no military background. I thought, but Poppy said that's very clever, because in a way that's putting pressure on Healey and saying, listen, I want it. You also want it, so find it. What's your view on it?
I can't believe he would have done this without this effectively being cleared or agreed in some way with Healey. So the idea that this is that Wes Streeting's statement, unless there's been a mess, which is a possibility, but it's unlikely this early. So I think the possibility of Wes Streeting's statement not being cleared or Healey not having eyes on it, I find difficult to believe. Whether, again, this is just more waffle to set a mood, to set a vibe, whatever they're calling it, let's see. I think that the defence budget will go up a little bit more. So maybe there'll be another billion. But, it might be that we're going to have very large tax rises, partly then justified by defence, despite the fact that defence may see very, very little of it.
How much does defence need, in your mind, as an expert? If I was the Prime Minister and you were the Defence Secretary and you sat in front of me, you'd go, Jet, how much do I need?
Look, I think we need to reach, it does need billions more, but, there's a lot to do in terms of reform of especially procurement.
Yeah.
We have the same budget as Israel, and Israel spends it an awful lot better. They have 700 people, for example, in their recruitment, military procurement organization. We have like 4,000. It's an incredibly inefficient system we have at the moment. So one of the things that we need is, we do need more money for defence because we've underspent on defence ever since the 1990s, all previous governments. Boris and Ben Wallace did start to turn it around, but not enough, and it was too late in the day, if you ask my opinion. So for sure, we need more in defence, and we need to be spending more, and we need also to be spending more in this country, but it's got to be the right kit. I tell you, actually, Jeremy, the thing that worries me is when people like Healy say we're going to buy British, buy British, buy British. That's a great aspiration, but that is sometimes, unfortunately, the reason that we've had these ridiculous overruns and stuff that costs billions that doesn't work. If you look at the Ajax armoured vehicle programme, it's been an absolute disaster from the word go. There was a BA system built in Sweden. You know, it's a BA owned company in Sweden. We could have got that kit over, had it manufactured in the UK. You probably would have had the same job share. It was an awful lot cheaper, and we would have had it in service years ago. So it's all very well saying buy British, and yes, I do want to see us buy as much British stuff as possible. But there is a trade-off between getting stuff made here and actually the stuff working, because we've run down our defence industry quite a bit, and you know we need to get those jobs here, but it needs to be intelligently done. But otherwise, you end up with basically the Navy with 2 aircraft carriers which were built as job creation schemes for Scottish constituencies and no frigates. I mean, it's barking.
We've got, I'm totally with you. I just come from the school of they increased the foreign aid budget last year for next year to 11 billion. If I would cut that. I would use all of that to defend my country. I don't know. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree.
Not at all. I completely agree. I'd certainly use most of it. Look, you need some emergency money to keep people alive in sub-Saharan Africa in crises, etc.
Yeah, but can I just have this conversation? You used to be an MP, right? And I know.
Jerry, hold on. Let me just make the argument. Okay, I agree with you pretty much 90%. I would have some emergency money, and anything else I would spend on peacekeeping operations for the British Army, because peacekeeping is important. But also I spend it for the World Service, BBC, because that is our tool to fight Russian and Chinese propaganda globally and to stick up for Western democracies and liberal democracies. Do I think the BBC in the UK is fit for purpose? No, it's finished. It shouldn't even be allowed to keep its name. It's shamed itself so much. I would save the BBC World Service, and I would use it very specifically, ensure that it doesn't go the same way as the domestic BBC, that actually it lives up to its values and sticks to its values. But I would actually fund it much better, and I would spend aid money on some emergency relief. I would then spend it on the British Army for peacekeeping, and I'd spend it on the BBC for World Service, and I'd fund it properly, actually.
Mate, can I ask you a question? Wait, I know you lost your seat. Are you really not coming back? Because you sound like you know exactly what you're doing.
To be honest, I'd love to, but I don't know if I'm going to have the chance. We'll see. I mean, I'm back on the candidates list for what it's worth.
You have to go back on a candidates list. You can't just walk into a seat. You're Bob Seeley, for God's sake.
No. I have to go back on the candidates. I gave them lots of reasons to kick me off the candidates list for being too right-wing, but none for being too left-wing. You would have been proud of me, Jeremy.
I'm very proud of you, mate. Listen, it's great to have you on. Why are you in thingy? Are you impersonating Vladimir Zelensky or whatever?
No, I'm out here. I'm out here pretty much every month for a bunch of things. So I had a book out last year, and it's going to paperback, so I need to do some more work on that. I've also got a defence tech company. We're actually working with the Ukrainians and indeed the Brits on some interesting and exciting stuff. And one of the things we're trying to do, look, if they're going to buy, Healy's going to buy British, that's great. But we're going to have to talk to the MOD about how they're going to do that.
Mate, we love having you on. We really appreciate it. Dr. Bob Seeley, former Tory MP and military expert. Thank you so much. 8:20. We're live across the UK. Talk Breakfast is on. I've decided, I haven't spoken to the bosses, I haven't costed it. Christian and I are going to launch Talk North. So we wanted to know from you on the text 87222 where it should be, when it should start, and how the hell we're going to pay for it. Paul in Hull says, I should start with Georgina. She says, I'm not in the north, but I do have Manchester in my town's name, God Manchester. Maybe you could do a fake north from here. It seems most of what Andy and the Labour Party do is fake anyway. Georgina's in Cambridgeshire, so there's a place called God Manchester. Paul says, we met last year at a hotel. That sounds... Don't look at me, you two, like that. Honestly, I had no idea. He says, come do my show from my shed. Come do your show from my shed, says Paul in Hull. Lovely morning, Jez. Will the replica number 10 door might be Andy's version of the Ed Stone? Do you remember Ed Miliband? Maybe. Jez, with all the timing of contracts, resignations, etc., around number 10 North, they must have been pretty sure AB was going to win. Great show, says Andy in Norfolk. Talk North from Wet Wang in Yorkshire, says Kate in Chesterfield. Live today, Talk North in Wet Wang. We're Wet Wang. No, I'm not even going there. What are you called if you live in Wet Wang? You're a Wet Wanger. That's perfect. That's the way you are. You are called a Wet Wanger. That's the way it is. Somebody's going to be tuning in and going, did he just say... No, Wet Wang is a place in Yorkshire. If you live there, you're a Wet Wang. Wanger, shouldn't Burnham be taking the bus to Manchester each week, says Brian, instead of a plane that costs 300 billion? Why doesn't Burnham take Islington with him to the north and build a wall? Lovely. Morning, JK. Talk North should be on Saturday and Sunday afternoons from 1 o'clock. Andy Burnham is our Kamala Harris. Lots of smiles and total rubbish spilling from his mouth. Morning, Phil.
Andy Burnham says he's going to reduce teenage PIP payments. Well, my first question is, why are teenagers getting PIP payments? Surely, if you're age 16, 17, you're classed as a minor, and therefore you are still your parents' responsibility. So, why are teenagers able to claim PIP payments? What the hell?
At one point, you had 15, 20 million people watching your show?
Yeah, 20 million people on it. And I mean, Bob and I didn't know, but David Bell, who's now passed away, bless him, he came into the dressing room one day and he said, right, boys, he said, do you know how many viewers you're getting? And we said, no. He said, you're getting 20 million viewers on a Saturday night. He said, it's absolutely fantastic.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Listen, if Andy Burnham can make up stuff on the back of a fag packet, so can I. We've announced in the last 25 minutes we're going to have a Talk North. I haven't spoken to the bosses, and like Andy Burnham, I haven't got a bloody clue how I'm going to pay for it, but I'm going to set up Talk North. Once a week, we're going to broadcast. I'm thinking, Rob, if you're listening, Big Rob, we should come to Newcastle. We could do it in his garden, to be honest, or his house. It's that big, right? Talk North could be in Newcastle. Rob Armstrong, special guest, meet the people. He can provide a private jet, or we'll get the train. And we'll go up there, we'll meet the people. And can I just point out, we've had a bit of a consternation on the team. Tommy, who's a legend, it's a nosebleed, so there's a bit of a problem with him. But the rest of us are very much up for Talk North. So I'd like on the text, please, where it should be, how the hell we're going to pay for it, and when we should start. 87222. Let's say a very good morning to the Shadow Health and Social Care Secretary. You see, the Tory party might not be in Parliament, but they're putting somebody up every single day, and I respect them. Stuart Andrew, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining me. Oh, God, where do I start? Let's start seriously. Andy Giveaway Burnham is plotting a crackdown on youth sickness benefits in an effort to reduce that ridiculous welfare benefits bill, Stuart, of £333 billion. He's told the BBC over the weekend the NHS will collapse if social care is not reformed. but he strangely can't put a timeline on it or how he's going to pay for it. What's the Tory party's response to the last week of giveaways?
Well, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. You know, we are seeing a phenomenal amount of announcements, but very, very little detail about how this is going to be paid for. You know, we've got a government here that is already borrowing £250 billion more than the previous government. That's putting a huge burden on the next generation already. I've got businesses in my constituency who are saying they are creaking under the strain of bills that they have to pay. If they go under, where is the money going to come from for the public services? And so, yeah, I mean, we need to see much more detail than we have seen so far. There's something like a £96 billion black hole from what I can see.
But the problem is, and this is not, this is just me being honest, Stuart, right? The problem is that there are millions of people in this country who are not invested, or do they question, or do they get involved in debate about politics. And what scares me to a point is, and I've been super critical of the Tories in the past, and I will be super critical and also complimentary when things work because I'm a patriot. But millions of people who go, oh, my bus fare's cheaper and I've got my energy bill will be cheaper and he's going to do... The fact of the matter is I see it as our duty, because most of the mainstream media, which we're not, won't have this conversation. We have the highest taxation in 70 years, some of which can be put at the Tories' door. But there's no way to pay for any of this unless you make cuts, which he's not going to do. Whatever he says, he's going to raise taxes. And Middle England needs to know that they are going to be clobbered by this Labour government, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it really does worry me about where this money is going to come from. There are people who are, you know, when I speak to some of the businesses in my constituency, these are businesses that people have invested their heart and soul in, let alone their hard-earned money. And they're saying to me, what's the point? I'm literally earning less than the people I employ. Now, if they go under, that's a business that's employing people. That's more people claiming benefit. That's less taxes being brought in. It's just not feasible to carry on like this.
Stuart, let's look at the other angle. Let's just say that he has that much political capital, and despite the fact that, you know, it all seems a bit nice, that he actually does have a backbone, and he stands in front of those 400 Labour MPs and he says, you know what, you're all toast and so am I, unless you allow me to do, for example, this welfare bill a cut. Starmer tried to knock about 1% off it, 5 billion, and was castigated and it was thrown out. Is Andy Burnham either A, having the political capital or strength to do it? Will he stand up to the Labour Party? And are the right, and this is a really important question, are they conning themselves that he won't? He could pull the carpet from under everybody's feet, couldn't he?
Well, the devil's in the detail, isn't it? And we'll wait and see whether or not he is prepared to face down those Labour MPs who squashed Keir Starmer's attempt to save a minuscule amount of what is really needed to be saved. You know, Kemi made the offer to Keir Starmer. She's repeated it to Andy Burnham, that we will work with them to bring about those changes that need to happen for the welfare bill. It is just spiralling out of control. And the thing that worries me more is entrapping people into a life that is going to be really difficult for them. You know, going to work is more than just earning money. Of course, that's the important part of going to work, but it's also about having a purpose in life. It's about contributing. It's about, you know, meeting up with your workmates. There's so much more that people get out of being in employment. And of course, that then helps our economy to thrive. Without a thriving economy, you may as well say, forget it about everything else. All the public services, we just simply won't have that money.
This is a question I ask everybody that comes on from the Tory party. There is no doubt that Kemi Badenoch, as a leader, is starting to cut through. I was very critical for the first year because there was silence, and Matt Vickers and the others who are regular would say, just wait, we're costing everything. I think she's been vindicated now in the fact that everybody seems to throw stuff out and not be able to say this is how we're going to do it. Is it not frustrating then that as the Green vote collapses in the latest poll down to 8%, because Dave's been found out, that's gone to Labour. We know Reform and the Tories are sort of vying. Is it frustrating when you feel you've got the team and the message, and yet nationally that the Tory brand is still seen by some as toxic and the movement isn't there. It might be from Kemi. How do you answer that, Stuart?
Well, look, there's clearly more work to be done, but Kemi is doing a phenomenal job. And what I really admire about her is she will say what she thinks, whether that makes her popular or not. And I think that's what a true leader is. We want to see more of that in our leaders. And she is certainly doing that in bucket loads. And the fact that she ensures that whenever we're making a policy announcement, it isn't just a sort of glib statement. It is backed by evidence and hard work and graft. And that is what I think is making her more popular. The brand for the party, of course, has got to change as well. But I'm an optimist, and I am hearing more and more from people around my constituency that they like Kemi. They like what she stands for. They like that she's upfront and she's honest and she's blunt and straightforward talking. And I hope that that's going to start to, reflect on the party more generally as we go forward.
Where is your constituency, by the way?
I'm in Daventry.
Oh, that's north. Should I take talk north? It's not really north Daventry, is it?
No, it's Midlands, really.
But I know it is, but we could get away with saying that's north, because then we wouldn't have to go too far north. Stuart, just quickly, also, if you don't mind, Burnham, another one, this just gets thrown out every day. He's eyeing compulsory voting. That proposal would mean a £10 fine for those who do not cast a ballot. I'm sort of torn on this. I get really, really, really angry when people dare to phone shows like this or stations or go in the newspaper and moan about a government or its politicians and they don't bloody vote, because I think it's our democratic duty, but I'm not sure you can force people into that.
I think I'm of the same view as you, actually. I don't think compulsory voting is the way forward. It's certainly not our party's policy. But I think there is a job for us to, ensure that we are engaging. Whenever I go around schools in my constituency, I always say to them, look, obviously I'd love them to vote for me, but primarily what I want them to do is to vote, because people are, we're lucky in this country that we have that right.
Yeah.
Not everybody around the world has that democratic right, and it's something that we should cherish and use.
Listen, it's great to have you on. We haven't had you on before. Please come again. And my respect and regards to Daventry. We might consider that for Talk North. The excellent Stuart Andrews, Shadow Health and Social Care Secretary, on the day that this show has announced that Talk North is a viable business opportunity. We're thinking of going north. We want to know to which town. Where should we go in the north? When should we start Talk North? And who the hell's going to pay for it? No, I'm not Andy Burnham, I'm Jeremy Carr. Tim in Suffolk, this is good. He says, defo we could do Talk North in Angry Rob's van. He said there'll be absolutely no worry because there'll be plenty of people with brown envelopes. I don't know what that means. Angry Rob left a voice note earlier. The quality was crap. We've never seen him again, but we've got an Angry Rob impersonator. Jeez, he's more famous than you, Christian. Hello, Mr. Impersonator.
Morning, Jezza. Not in a good mood. Not in a good mood. I'm not saying who I am, but I tell you what, I've had enough of this. Already, everyone's praising this new Prime Minister for bus fare caps. And number 10 North, is he having a laugh? We're getting invaded daily on a daily basis by hundreds of immigrants, and some of them are already posting videos of having guns. Iran have already said they're letting in terrorists. They're putting terrorists on the bloody boats. What the hell is going on? What the hell is going on about bus fares? They are going to have blood on their hands when all these terrorists get their orders and attack. You wait and see. Enough! This is absolute terrorism and treason.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. The movement for Talk North gathers pace. James says you can do the show from my kitchen in Royston in Barnsley, where we make tea properly, tea bag, walk milk, then sugar. You see, Andy Burnham, I haven't got to get a lease from the council. I can go to Royston, to James's front room or kitchen. Same thing, mate, to be honest. Morning, Jez. Love the show and absolutely love you. That's a bit deranged. My son has a car washing job and he's only 14. What's wrong with teenagers a few years older getting a job or at least work experience? Kay, they're suffering from anxiety. Don't be so unfair, woman. How about Talk Westrum? This is a real place. I think you should bring Talk West, not North. I live in Shitterton in Dorset. This is Talk North live. No, Talk West live and exclusive from Shitterton on a Friday. That'll be fun. Jeremy, I thought Birmingham was our second city, so if we need a second number 10, why Manchester? He's trying to schmooze the red wall. I'm already sick of this anti-crap routine, says Jim in Warwick. You really can't do it. This is brilliant. Morning, Jez. First ever job, joined the military at 16. Very quickly deployed to the Falklands the day after my 17th birthday. Ask me, anxiety payments for youngsters. Bloody ridiculous, says Tom. Could not agree more. Dan, that clip of Andy saying it's his greatest day of his life, number 10 North, is absolutely cringeworthy. It makes me feel sick. Great. Compulsory voting, £1,000 a tenner, who cares? And knowing Andy, that's the real number 10 door. He took off the hinges and shipped it to Manchester. Mick from Dorset, the conspiracy theories continue. It makes me wonder if Starmer was part of Burnham's plot and was intentionally hopeless, that he was all part of it. The timing of the lease on number 10 North proves that voters in Makerfield were simply useful idiots, says Mick in Wallington. Oh, Jesus. Morning, Al.
Morning, Jezza. Here's an idea for you. My friend's dad has been locked up for the last about 20 years, and the fortune that she's going to inherit when he dies, because he gets his benefits, she's rubbing her hands together, waiting to get, I think it's up to about 60,000 so far. And then you've got Callacane and all the rest of them that are getting locked up in Broadmoor. They'll be getting £1,000 a month. They need to take all that money back. There's probably millions and millions sat there. I'm so annoyed about this because when my dad died, my mum went into a care home. I had to buy the family home for full market value because I don't get any benefits for my mother. They need to claw those benefits back from the people that are in mental institutions.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, although the start of that call, I was thinking, what are you advocating? That your dad goes to prison for 25 years and you get 100 grand? It is absolutely outrageous, and I'm glad she brought up Callacane. That piece of rubbish has at the weekend been managed to move to a maximum security prison with all sorts of benefits. The benefits that we are paying convicted killers £1,000 a month. That doesn't make any sense to anybody with a brain cell. 0344 499 1000. Happiest day of my life, Suze. Andy, cringe. So inauthentic. Not buying this humble act for one moment. If he was chocolate, he'd eat himself. I reckon there's a mirror in his office so he can kiss his own backside each morning. Paul Richards is good at politics, just giving away uncosted freebie. I could do that. Any 11-year-old could do that. You're not interested, you lot, are you? Morning, Jez. My first job in 1983... Oh, that would be like me. Well, I was 18 then. Was the British Army. I earned 14 quid a week. I served for 16 years. I'm all for compulsory voting. Stop funding illegal immigrants. That'll balance your bleeding books. He's called Tiny from Leeds. Now, I see, now that... Why? He's obviously about 6'8" or hung... Never mind. Anyway, Tiny, is that a nickname or a true? Jez, will compulsory voting include illegal immigrants and those on indefinite leave to remain or study or other visas? That's why HMOs are being used, as they can go onto the electoral register. Labour will never stop the boats as they are importing new voters to be scattered to marginal constituencies across the country. Thanks, Elle in Dorset. Right. Talk. Is Harry coming? Oh, I don't know about that. Where should Talk North be? Where should it be? Brian, good morning.
Good morning, Jezza. Brian here. Burnham should have put his new government of North in Northampton, because they're famous for cobblers. Cheers, mate.
You lot. Honestly, Wow. I've decided, though, Chris and I have decided, we haven't spoken to the bosses yet, but Talk North is going to be launched. We're going to get ourselves a nice office. So far, we've been suggested a kitchen in Royston in Barnsley, where we'll get a free cup of tea and Angry Rob's van. It's not looking as impressive as Andy Burnham, but I'm not using your money. So your suggestion of where Talk North should be, how, when it should start and how I'm going to pay for it will be most welcome on The Breakfast Show. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to... he's the latest addition to that amazing newspaper, The Sun. We love him. Tom Scottson, political correspondent. Good morning, dear boy.
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
Well, I'm all right. I'm launching Talk North. Yes. Are you from North?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
South Manchester, a place called Altrincham.
I know. Excuse me. Excuse me, I lived in Manchester for 15 years, and if you're going to try and tell me Altrincham is anything but a place full of rich people, that's like living in Alderley Edge, mate. You're right upmarket, aren't you?
I know. Alderley Edge is a lot posher, I would say. Alderley Edge.
I lived at Alderley Edge. Yeah.
Very nice. Both lovely places, though.
I did. I lived in Knutsford as well, which is nice. But anyway, Manchester, Andy Burnham. Just very quickly, Talk North. Any suggestions when I should do it, how I should do it, how I should budget? Because like Andy, I haven't got any answers, to be fair.
Well, Number 10 North only took a week to launch it, seemed to anyway. So he took from Prime Minister and then about 5 or 6 days. So I'd say Altrincham, obviously I'm biased, and it should only take you a few days.
Have you not heard? This is really interesting, and as a political journalist with The Sun, and you're doing a great job. So we were like, this doesn't make sense, because literally within, what, 5 days of being PM, he'd opened Number 10 North, Tom. The contracts were done, furnishing services, security, a logo, printed signs and banners. He had his first meeting there on Friday where he described it as the best day of his life. Stand by for the divorce. But listen to this. 11th of May, bear in mind in all of this, the Makerfield by-election was the 18th of June. May the 11th, Tom, Manchester City Council agrees to second-floor Heron House lease. 14th of May, 3 days later, Josh Simmons suddenly resigns as an MP for Makerfield, calling a by-election and giving Andy Burnham the chance. 10th of June, 8 days for the by-election, Manchester City Council confirms Heron House lease agreement without naming the leasee or the contact. I mean, you have to look at that and go, I mean, you can call it a con or the greatest coup ever.
I mean, they've definitely had this in the pipeline for a long time, didn't they? I mean, you had Louise Hay, obviously his closest ally, saying that they've been planning this for a year, so there's clearly not the only thing that was probably in the pipeline for the last 12 months.
I wonder whether Starmer knew anything about the depth of what was happening. Do you know what I mean?
Probably. I mean, I think, you know, Starmer probably been paranoid for a long time. He'd been briefing against West Streeting for all those months, but maybe should have shifted the briefing to someone else.
As a political journalist, I'd love your take. We've woken up every morning last week to a sort of sweetie giveaway announcement. Later on in the day, certain journalists have looked at, as I think we all have a duty to do, where that money comes from. Other broadcasters are saying, you're just being cynical. You should be happy. But I think with, you know, the taxation that we've got, the highest in 70 years, we have a duty to question where this money's coming from. Today, a crackdown on youth sickness benefits as Andy Burnham says, I will reduce the country's $333 billion welfare bill, which is, I think, great, right? But let's bear in mind, I'd love your take on this, that Keir Starmer tried to knock $5 billion off a £333 billion thing and was castigated, and it was knocked out by the Parliamentary Labour Party. In your view, does he either have the will or the political capital, Burnham, to get this through the Parliamentary Labour Party?
I mean, it's going to be incredibly difficult because, yeah, you mentioned the disability cuts, but also the winter fuel payment. I mean, that was £2 billion, and again, that was probably their most humiliating U-turn of the last 2 years. The only thing I would say with Burnham, the one thing he's got going for him, is that he is seen as more of a left-wing figure, so maybe that just because of those sort of vibes, that he may be able to carry some of the Labour Party with him that Starmer never managed to. But having said that, I mean, looking at some of the scant details that have been briefed out, they've said that they're going to try and get people on sickness benefits into voluntary work or training. I mean, what if they reject that? And I feel that it's going to have to be some sort of a cold turkey approach, where if they aren't willing to do that, then their benefits cut altogether. But again, you know, you look at Labour MPs, are they really going to rein in behind that? I just don't see it. If they didn't do it before, then what makes it more likely this time?
This is my point, is that I'm a patriot, Tom, right? So I want him to be a success. I think the last few years, including the Tories, have been a disgrace. But it's all very nice, and the PR and the wording is great. But let's scratch the surface. Labour governments in the past have all been accused of spending everybody else's money until it runs out. We can't borrow anymore. We're currently paying, what, 10 or 12 billion a month just in interest on debt we can't service. The IMF is not a viable opportunity, and actually now they can't print money. I think most people with a brain cell would say the only way to make this work is to raise taxes, and that will be in a budget. And so he's got a few months, hasn't he? And he's certainly got 6 weeks where nobody in Parliament is taking him to task because they're in recess.
I mean, the only thing I could think that he could sell this to his MPs is that MPs primarily want to keep their seats. I know that obviously people think, oh, they go in for higher reasons, and maybe they do, but when it comes to it, if they are told that they are going to keep their job via bringing in some policy within a year, I can bet you bottom dollar that they're going to back it. So if he says to the majority of the MPs, OK, you don't like the benefit reforms, but most of the public do. Youth unemployment is higher than it was in COVID. We're going to save tens of billions of pounds, and after the next Parliament, when you win your seats, we can use that money to spend it on lovely projects that you want, whether it's transport, social care, etc. And I feel that that's the only way that he could probably get it passed. He's not going to please all his MPs, but I bet you that could win the majority of those wavering that didn't like the benefit reforms before but could back them again.
But then it makes you wonder, and I'm not trying to be difficult, right? If he's got political capital, because they can't replace him and they brought him in, Starmer had the biggest majority, post-war majority. All of those MPs, whether they like it or not now, owe their political career to Keir Starmer. That doesn't mean I think he was anything but a lamentable Prime Minister. But Burnham, maybe he's got it. Maybe, you know, I mean, he came out at the weekend to Laura Kuenssberg and said, I'm not going to call an election. I think that's blatantly not true. I think that the Green vote has already collapsed by 10 points because Dave Polansky's been found out, and I presume most of those are rowing back into Labour. Reform have some issues. I think it would be fair to say that the Tory brand, as I said, is still toxic, although Kemi Badenoch isn't. Then you've got the next question. If after the party conference somebody says you're 5 points in front, go to the country, is he going to trade 150 MPs and come back with a majority of 30? I've no idea. I mean, I wouldn't want to underestimate the man, but I do think that we have a duty to literally scratch the surface every single day and say, sounds nice. I just worry about all the people in the middle of England who'll go, that sounds great, and vote for him. I'm just being honest.
I mean, the temptation, isn't it, with journalism in general, is to cosy up to those that seem in the ascendancy because people want the access. But in actual fact, you're right, Jeremy, this is the time now that we need to scratch beneath the surface. We need to find what's his plans for welfare, what's his plans for the economy, NHS. How is he going to pay for this huge social care package that will require huge amounts of taxation unless it's some sort of private healthcare model, which, knowing the Labour Party, obviously in their history, with the founding of the NHS, that's very unlikely. So, yeah, we really need to dig deeper into this because, again, he's probably going to look in a few months' time. He said the Green vote's collapsing, the Tory brand isn't rejuvenating, and Reform are in a bit of a mess at the moment. So, yes, we really need to dig in and find out what these plans are.
It'd be very interesting to see whether he has the courage to go for it. What did you make of compulsory voting? You heard that today as well.
It was an interesting one. I found out, looking into some of the research, that the actual idea had been floated by a think tank called Think Labour, used to be formerly Labour Together, that was run by Alison Phillips, who's now working for Andy Burnham. So it was a policy paper. I mean, I can't imagine a £10 fine is going to convince people to turn up to the polling booth on polling day. No. I mean, you know, I think everyone should vote. You know, I think it's it's a privilege. I heard you guess.
It's a democratic right, isn't it? It's a duty almost, but I also, like you, have a problem with being forced to do something because I don't think that works. But I also have no time for all those people who moan and bitch about politicians and won't actually do anything about it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, and it's a great way. And even if people just want to leave their, their card blank or write something on it, I think that is so much better than just staying at home and not doing anything.
Right, couple of things to finish with. More light-hearted, Tom, as you become a regular. What was your first Saturday job? Because today we discover 75,000 Saturday jobs have been lost under the Labour Party.
Yeah, my first Saturday job was actually working at Marks and Spencer in the Trafford Centre. I did 5 a.m. shifts till sometimes 10 or...
What did you do? I stacked geese bananas 40 years ago at M&S. £1.65 an hour.
Yeah, I was stacking the shelves, and then whenever I went off to the afternoon, I was then behind the till. It was great. You earned your own money. It was just before university.
It was horrific.
And then during it. I mean, yes, it was hard work, but getting your own money...
But we had to do that. It was a tenner. It was like, Jesus, we've got to do that. The other thing is, and I want you to just take this seriously, a taxpayer-backed arts group have this morning announced... Did you have a Care Bear as a kid?
I can't remember.
They say some teddy bears are trans, Tom Scottson.
Okay, which care group's this?
Taxpayer-backed arts groups say that some teddy bears are trans. I think it's Care Bears. I mean, we're slightly confused because we didn't know that teddy bears had genitalia, but apparently some are trans. Thoughts on that, my friend?
Yeah, I've never really thought that teddy bears had a gender or sex before. I mean, I guess this is going to annoy people even more, right? Because, you don't want to be lectured by taxpayer-funded groups. I mean, that's just one of the things anyway. It doesn't matter if they're not really, you can ignore them, but if they're coming out of your own dime, it's quite frustrating.
I love you. We're so grateful. Tom Scott, some political correspondent. Son, thank you for coming on. The Current Bun is out today. So much all over. We'll do some sport in a minute. Belinda, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Just an idea. If you did move Talk North to Shitterton up north, wouldn't it be number 2 instead of number 10? Just a thought. Great show.
Oi, I love you lot, Alarm Clock Brit. So this is the news that obviously, on the basis that Andy Burnham's got Talk North, he's got number 10 North. I want to take Talk North. We'd like your suggestions of where, when we should start, and how the bloody hell we should fund it. No, I'm not Andy Burnham. Shitterton is in... This is actually... It's in Dorset. Is it? Is it in Dorset? People are saying that would be a good idea. We've been offered James's Kitchen in Royston in Barnsley because he makes a cup of tea, and Angry Rob's van. Talk North, nah, that's overrated, says Chris. Talk West is where it's at. Get Footprint in Northern Ireland. Get in there before Prime Minister Eyelashes does, says Chris in Belfast. Your suggestions for Talk North would be most welcome. Push the button, Big M.
90 minutes in 90 seconds.
From the Sun.
Josh Hall, good morning, sir. Where are you? Josh?
I'm in Hitchin.
Where?
Hitchin.
Oh, right, we're not doing Talk North in Hitchin. That's far too... Oh, God, are you an Arsenal fan?
I'm an Arsenal reporter.
Who do you support?
Yeah, Arsenal. I was trying to be partisan.
That didn't work, did it?
I'm an Arsenal fan. I tried to give the political answer. Turns out my career is not in politics.
No, your career's fine. I'm just slightly concerned. Is that your home? You look like you're incarcerated somewhere with no pictures on any wall.
I moved in 2 days ago, so there's nothing. There's nothing on the walls yet.
Bless you, mate. We really appreciate it. Talking about Arsenal, I want to go straight to it. Vinicius Junior, one of the greatest players in the world. A talk over the weekend that Arsenal could smash their contract record, 400 grand a week, to grab this guy. They really are serious, aren't they, Arsenal? Having been made champions, they're really making waves.
Yeah, it would be an incredible transfer. I mean, one that sort of came out of nowhere. I don't think anyone was expecting Arsenal to go in for someone like Vinicius, but with them only having a year left on his contract in Real Madrid and those negotiations not quite landing yet, Arsenal feel like there's an opportunity there, but it would cost a lot of money, more than they ever paid for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang per week, more than they paid for Mesut Ozil. Their highest paid at the moment is Bukayo Saka on £300,000 a week, so it would smash that. But he would be an incredible signing and someone who's going to raise their level even higher as champions already.
Are we... Piers Morgan goes on about this all the time. Are we now at a point where Arsenal will dominate, in your mind? Not as a fan, as a reporter for the next 2 or 3 years, because it always happens in waves, doesn't it?
It does happen in waves. They're well positioned. They've got a well-aged squad. What they have to do is they have to go out and improve. If they can bring in a player like Vinicius, if they can continue to build on what they already have, they definitely can dominate, but they can't they can't stay stagnant. They've already missed out on a few big targets. Morgan Rogers has gone somewhere else. They like Tonali, he's gone to Tottenham. So they have to continue to improve, and then they could dominate.
Back page of the Sun today, always the best place for sport. AJ's Fury Tale of New York. I mean, he wasn't that impressive, Anthony Josh, at the weekend, but he got through his fight, the AJ Fury fight that all of Britain wants. Looks like it's going to happen, hundreds of millions of pounds. Where's it going to be? He wants, I think Tyson wants New York, he wants Wembley. We just want this bloody fight to happen, don't we?
Well, we've been wanting it to happen for a long time. It almost feels like it's happening far too late. They're both sort of on a bit of a decline now, but yeah, look, it's an all-British bout. In my opinion, it should be at Wembley. In the opinion of AJ's camp, it should be in Wembley as well. But as you say, Fury's camp are a little bit more keen on having it over in New York. They've got those buddy-buddy contacts with Netflix, given their documentary, and they've got the rights to the fight, Netflix, so they quite like it to be in that American market. But AJ's camp are going to fight to try and have it at Wembley.
$1 million question for you, Josh Hall. Who wins the Premier League next season?
Let's go with Arsenal. That sounds like confidence.
Who wins the Championship?
Oh, that's going to be a tricky one.
No, it's not. I'm a West Ham fan. Crack on. Come on.
West Ham. Easy West Ham. Why
Excellent.
not?
And if Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury fight, this is nailed for me, and I'll get told off by my friends at TalkSport. Who wins the fight?
That's one for our boxing experts to answer. I think I'm going to go ahead and say Fury.
Absolutely with you, mate. Absolutely with you. We want that fight. All of us do. Thank you, Josh. The Arsenal fan, we love having you on. Everything you need in the excellent Sun Sport every day on the nation's #1 newspaper. We're live across the UK. We talk breakfast. We're on. We're coming back with Isabel Oakeshott. We'll talk all things with her, especially that footage from Manchester, what Andy Burnham's Manchester is really like. All of that after the news at 9, which is next on Talk.
Same Jamila Jamil. Anything with the faintest whiff of controversy, only to find herself in controversy time and time again, whether it's feuds with celebrities, social media rows, accusations. She even disowned her entire family, claiming that they are fat-phobic. Well, if your worldview boils down to 70 million people being villains because of where they are born, that is not courageous. It's actually very lazy and entitled.
It is therefore my honour to declare that the duly elected leader of the Labour Party is Andy Burnham.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. I believe in all of you, and I am confident we can do it. Thank you very much. I have just come from Buckingham Palace, where I have accepted His Majesty the King's invitation to form a government. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be.
This man has no mandate whatsoever. He didn't stand on the 2024 general election manifesto. You cannot make the biggest change in British politics in 40 years without a mandate from the British people, and it will be only decent, right and proper to call a general election on that issue and to do it now.
Our fifth Prime Minister in 4 years. Blimey. And, well, look, we want him to succeed. But will this one be any different? Andy Burnham, the new head honcho, the speed this all happened, I know this is a well-trodden debate already, is actually breathtaking. 1 minute he was Mayor of Greater Manchester. What, a month and a bit ago he wasn't even an MP. The next he's holding keys to number 10 without the country ever really having a chance to scrutinise him in a prospective prime ministerial nothing at all. We really know very little.
I think Burnham has to walk a fine line. I think that's probably what's going on, because if he were to sweep into Downing Street and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to fix everything, I'm going to do things completely differently to Starmer, then people would say, hold on, mate, we need a general election in that case, because no one voted for that. No one voted for you to be Prime Minister. You weren't standing in the 2024 general election. We've never seen your manifesto. Who the hell are you? That's what people would be asking.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, I don't know if it's common sense, and in a minute the brilliant Isabel Oakeshott will be here. We'll be talking about what Andy Burnham's real Manchester is like. But you know what? Sometimes when you sit here, it's so turgid and so miserable, the news, that we just have these moments on breakfast where we just think, so we've decided, and to be honest with you, I have just received a text from the boss saying you need to see me at 10 o'clock, so probably I'm in trouble anyway, but don't care. I want to launch Talk North. I think we should take this show north. I don't know where, I don't know when, and I've got no idea I'm going to pay for it, which probably makes me Andy Burnham, but I haven't got his eyebrows. We could paint them on. But I'd love to have your suggestions, and you lot are incredible. I don't care. It's unbelievable. Some suggestions. Jez, you need to hold your first Talk North broadcast from the Slug and Lettuce pub, which I run, which is underneath Talk North 10, or number 10 North. It would be really funny if he had his first cabinet meeting and you were holding your Talk breakfast show. Andy in Morecambe says you need to go to Stoke in Trent. There's a place called Torquay, or Talk, Talke. That would be absolutely brilliant, says Andy in Morecambe. Jez, never mind Talk North. Number 10 North should be relocated to the Orkneys, most appropriately to the town of Twat, says Neil. Is this a town? There's a place called Twat in the Orkneys. We're not being rude. If Labour implements a £10 fine for not... Oh, that's not what I want. Good. Here's the thing. Oh, morning, Jez. It's not up north, but I've heard there's a vacant building in London not being used. Number 10, I believe, comes with a free cat, says David Worthing. If you're sending you to work in the north, Jez, anywhere around the Arctic Circle would be good. That person obviously wants me to freeze to death. That's great. Come to Staley Bridge. Unfortunately, we're sandwiched between Angela Scragend and Jonathan Rambag. I don't know who the hell that is. Jezza, anywhere further north than Burnham's Gaff, it would be a case of one-upman Northmanship. Absolutely. This is great. You have suggested the following towns. I can't even name you. Sexhow, which is 18 miles north of Thirsk. This is for Talk North. Crackpot. It's a small village in Swaledale in Yorkshire. My favourite for a breakfast show is Fryup. It sits 19 miles west of Whitby in the North Yorkshire. Fryup? Here we are, Talk North live from Fryup. Blubberhouse is a village between Harrogate and Skipton. Giggleswick's in North Yorkshire. That'd be good, wouldn't it? And Bugglehole, whichever way you want, in North Yorkshire. Your suggestions, please, for Talk North, which I am going to launch. I've no budget, I've no agreement, although I might have signed a lease. I haven't signed a lease. Tommy, who works on the show, has come up with the best suggestion, though. He thinks we should do Talk North Korea. Brilliant. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. In between the hilarity, there are serious points, but it's worth laughing because God knows it's depressing enough. A very good morning to the lady who lights me up every day, Isabel Oakeshott. Hello.
Good morning.
Talk North. No agreement, no money.
I love this idea. It's a road show with a difference, going around all these places. The Fryup's the best one.
I don't think you might have heard the other one in Dorset, Shitterton. They wanted to call it number 2. I mean, honestly, they've been amazing this morning. But yeah, I'm thinking of it because, like Burnham, I've got no budget, no agreement. I want to ask you this seriously before we get into Manchester. We looked into this, which I think is frightening. So when he announced number 10 North, Isabel, within 5 days, it had contracts, furnishing, services, security, a logo, printed signs, banners, and he held his first meeting there, which got everybody going, that's a bit quick. But we discovered, and bear in mind that that local election in Makerfield was the 18th of June. On the 11th of May, Manchester City Council agreed to lease the second-floor Heron House, but refused to put the name in it. 14th of May, 3 days later, Josh Simmons suddenly resigns as the MP of Makerfield, meaning there's a by-election and Burnham can stand. And on the 10th of June, right, Isabel, 8 days before the Makerfield by-election, Manchester City Council confirms Heron House lease agreement. I mean, we've talked about a coup. This has been really bloody well organised, hasn't it?
It definitely sounds that way, doesn't it? Yeah, great story. So who's unpicked all of this then? This chronology, as it were?
Well, this is the work of the team, but it's all absolutely proven to be correct. So you think and you look and you go, how long has this been going on? Did Starmer have any idea? This isn't... I mean, Lou Hay gave it away at the weekend. That's what got us into it when she said, and I quote, "We've been planning this for a year."
Yeah, well, wow. Pretty impressive. Well, good sleuthing there. But overall, the point is, what is the point of this number 10 North? I just think it looks so shabby, doesn't it? It just looks like sort of, easy government, easy jet style. Let's just take it to some
Well, that's interesting. This is another bit of graph we've done. I don't know if you know this, on Thursday morning, he had to fly to Glasgow for an hour to be at the Commonwealth Games opening with Charles, and then he took the official jet to Manchester. Cost to the British taxpayer, first week, 300 grand, which means if he works... No, this is true. If he works at home every day for a year on a Friday, it's going to cost the British taxpayer 10 million quid.
Oh, my God. Wow. In that case, maybe he shouldn't take a salary and contribute some of his own earnings to this complete and utter stunt, because that's all it is. I mean, it doesn't make anything better for anybody. I
think that's the point, and I've been desperate to speak to you. We're going to talk about Manchester in a minute because you've done some great work. I just wanted an overview. I have to admit, hear me out, his communications, the way he's giving out sweets on a daily basis, there's no parliament, there's no scrutiny. Most of the mainstream media are blowing smoke where the sun don't shine, led by the BBC. So he's got a sort of 6-week window to make these announcements, and it's good. But No, hear me out. But I absolutely will sit here, as will everybody on Talk, despite criticism from the left, and do the one thing that the media should be doing, which is questioning where the money's coming from, because this country is financially on its backside, and the truth needs to be told, doesn't it?
So I agree that it's good on the surface, and we're not, here at Talk, we're not just about saying everything's terrible and everybody is useless, and, we're not sour in that way. I think credit where credit's due. The guy is at least coming across as less robotic than the person that he replaced. He does seem to be able to connect with people. He sounds authentic. Many people will think, yeah, this guy does actually get it. And when you look at his record in Manchester, again, you know, before we do our piece about how difficult many things are in Manchester, he has done some good things. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. But what worries me the most, and we've talked about this before, we talked about it last week, is that he is not talking about the really fundamental, the way I see it, the three fundamental things. One, mass uncontrolled immigration.
Yeah.
Two, the ballooning of the welfare state. And I know you were talking about that a minute ago, and you were saying, you know, you're sort of making a few little noises on that, but very unconvincingly. And three, the state of the economy. And these things are all wrapped up together, aren't they? And while the boats are still coming over, and there is still a huge amount of violent crime, in particular linked to overseas nationals.
Yeah.
And that's another cover-up that this government is very much trying to keep from us. I'm not going to be impressed by this guy, but maybe he will move into those areas. I don't know.
What's your thoughts, very quickly, again, just sorry, because there's been so much. He's eyeing up compulsory voting, and I'm slightly torn because I hate the fact that people do not instigate their democratic duty, because it was fought for years, but I don't think you can control people. What are your thoughts on that and a potential early election, which he denies, which I think is rubbish? I think he will call an election.
Oh, do you? No, I don't actually. I'm really pretty sure he won't do that. He said, you know, when you've been a political observer and commentator for a very long time, you learn to read a lot into a little. And he has said on his very first day, when he stood on Downing Street without his notes, he did say, you know, people have had words to the effect of, people have had too much politics. You know, we've all had far too much politics in the last 10 years. People are sick of it, and I get it. He said that. And I just don't think calling an early election fits in with that. And he didn't need to say that on day one. And he has reiterated that he won't be doing that. I think he wants his 3 years. He's got a 10-year plan. And I think he wants the next 2 or 3 years to actually come up with some tangible achievements as he sees them. I think he will get a lift in the polls in the next few weeks. You know, perhaps even Labour will come out in front. I think it will be very short-lived as people see that these fundamentals that we've been talking about haven't changed. And it won't be enough for him to think, oh, well, I'm going to throw caution to the wind and go for an early election. I would pretty much rule that out happening. However, I am aware that I could easily be wrong, proven wrong.
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, my view is different only in that if you look at the latest research, the Greens under Dave have dropped 10 points to 8. Most of those, I suspect, are rowing back behind Labour, this new dawn. We all know that Reform is under attack. We know that Badenoch is popular, but the Tory, you know, in effect, the Tory brand is still toxic. And I just wonder whether he's got the political, well, balls, if you want, to be honest, to go, if I can change a 180 majority into 30, 40, 50 and get my own mandate, that will enable me to take Britain even further. It'd be interesting to see what happens. What do you feel about compulsory voting?
I don't really like it. It's not something I think is troubling the nation at this point. You know, have you ever spoken to anyone who raised this as an important and pressing topic for new legislation? No. I don't like it. I think I'm much more concerned if he starts talking about proportional representation. That's a much more interesting debate to me, and something that Andy Burnham has repeatedly said over the years that he's in favour of. And I do think, you know, I wouldn't rule out him coming up with something on that if we're going to look at constitutional voting reform. But making compulsory voting, I don't think that's a great idea. And I think you get great swathes of people who pay no attention to politics at all.
But that's what worries me, Isabel. That's why I've
integrated at all. It's going to massively increase this sort of block voting or so-called family voting.
That's what worries me, and that's why our job, I think, on Talk is so important. Despite derision from certain sections of the media, you say, you lot just go, how's it going to be paid for? Because that's really important, because I don't want people seduced on sweets. I want them to understand that those sweets will have to be paid for. Let's talk about this amazing piece of work that you've done. You did an amazing piece of undercover work with the migrant, and Christian, who works with you. You decided to have a look at the reality of Manchester, because, of course, Andy Burnham has arrived in London. I turned Manchester round. Manchester's the jewel in the crown. And then we get messages saying, well, hold on a minute, Jess, because I was there 20 years ago. Piccadilly Gardens was amazing. It's now a crack den. So tell us more about what Christian got up to, Isabel.
So my colleague Christian Drogan did brilliant work in the centre of Manchester, work that I couldn't do because I don't blend in as well as he does. He's actually from the area, and he spent just 2 hours in the city centre of a Tuesday night. So we're not even talking about a Friday night or a Saturday night. And what emerged from that and the footage that he secured and the experiences that he had, I found truly shocking. I think for me, the most shocking bit of it, and I'm not sure how much we're going to show on Talk, but let me describe it, was a girl fight, a brawl that he came across just on the streets outside Nando's in the centre of Manchester of a Tuesday evening. A couple of young teenage girls, he thinks they're about 14, absolutely beating the hell out of each other.
And not a policeman or woman in sight. I've actually got the footage. It's shocking. And Christian, who is Mancunian, and we have to cut some of his language because he was absolutely undercover, is the only person trying to stop this. Have a watch, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, give me a rest! Hey! Give me a rest! Give me a rest! Nah, bro! I won't see people scrap! Stop it! Yeah, exactly, stop scrying! Come on, stop it! You take her that way and you take her that way. Why? Because I don't like seeing people getting beaten up for no reason, that's why.
You have to get in man's face.
Nah, bro! Do you know what? I'll just split the fight up, yeah? What are you doing as a man? Be a man! Be a man! Be a man!
Hordes of teenagers on the street fighting. He was approached during the 2-hour visit, Grogan, repeatedly approached Isabel by suspected drug dealers. 4 times he was offered drugs. Widespread rough sleeping. I thought Andy Burnham had organised the end of rough sleeping in Manchester.
I mean, I just want to dwell on that footage for a moment longer. There were people just walking past that, shrug, as if this is an entirely normal thing. Why? Because it probably is an entirely normal thing. It isn't just coincidental that Christian, happened to be there on the one night of the year that there was a brawl breaking out. And, I heard him, do you know when I initially saw that footage, I actually didn't recognise Christian's voice because it's not how he speaks when he comes on Talk. But he was very much in the moment there. And he was shouting at that young man who's just standing there on a bike watching these young women.
It's very English, that, isn't it? Or British. People don't get involved, but they rubberneck on a motorway when there's a crash. That's typically British.
Be a man, be a man. What are you doing? Be a man. And what were these people doing? Absolutely nothing. And it's really stayed with me, that footage. Really upset me. What kind of society have we got where people walk on past young girls screaming and hurting each other in that fashion? And it shows a force of personality that you can go in and you can make a difference. As for the homelessness thing, it's really interesting this because Burnham did actually make a substantial difference to homelessness. I've looked at the statistics. When he came in 2017, he managed to reduce it very, very dramatically for a few years. And then it went shooting back up again. And it took Christian no time to come across rows of tented rough sleepers in Manchester. But I think what this shows is you can put an awful lot of resources into rough sleeping. You can make an impact, but it's really, really very, very difficult to eradicate. And you're sure as hell not going to eradicate it when you're allowing loads of people to come over undocumented, coming over on the boats. You give them refugee status and then there just isn't the housing for them. A lot of these were foreigners.
Well, this takes me back to the Samara stuff last week, just off Park Lane, one of the most affluent areas of London. You saw the footage, Albanian pickpockets attacking her and the cameraman because they dared to photograph it. They're all on benefits. It's an absolute joke. You're absolutely right by that, by the way. I wonder, and you know, people will go, what? I know exactly what people will say when I say this. I wonder how many of the homeless are in fact illegal migrants, right? And then everybody will say, well, we need to give them a home. No, we don't. We need to deport them, for Christ's sake. What's wrong with you? He was offered drugs 4 times in 2 hours. This is Crackadilly, ladies and gentlemen. This is the place that Andy Burnham says is the benchmark for how the United Kingdom should be.
Jezza, you haven't shown the rats. Are you going to show the rat footage, or are we keeping that?
Yeah, this is great. My clean city. Have you got the rat footage? They are. Look, rats everywhere. They are. Look, there they are, running around. Rats the size of rabbits all over the place. People living rough. No police. People fighting. Rats on the streets. Rubbish out. That's Andy Burnham's Manchester. And by the way, I'm the only one amongst all of you that worked there 20 years ago for 15 years, and Piccadilly Gardens was all right. It's not now.
Yeah. On the drugs thing, one of the people that offered him drugs actually showed him a letter from the police which showed that he's on bail for drug dealing, and he's just carrying on drug dealing. It's like this letter was a source of, I don't know, pride or bewilderment. You know, here's my letter to show I'm a drug dealer on bail, but I'm just going to carry on anyway. Oh, the other thing that we haven't talked about was the Tesco in that area, yes. Where the shop assistants all work from effectively practically in a cage, you know, because they are so used to being threatened. He spoke to a shop assistant who said, yeah, we're behind these glass barriers because people come in with knives, people spit at us. I mean, what the hell has happened to our society? Can you imagine this? You know, scroll back to the 90s or the early 2000s. This behaviour just was not routinely tolerated.
No.
It wasn't the case that, you know, businesses were having to put up cages for their staff. In fact, you tackle the behaviour of the consumer, not just go out to protect.
But then what chance have we got where the police are basically saying if you nick less than 200 quid from a shop, we ain't coming to do anything about it? I think it's disgusting. And by the way, I don't expect Andy, right? I don't expect Andy Burnham to get everything right, but if you're going to stand up and extol the virtues of how brilliant, you know, Manchester is, despite the fact that you're a Scouser who supports Everton, you want to make damn sure that the place that you're purporting that is so brilliant actually is. And you can see from that footage, which is brilliant footage that Isabel and Christian have done, and listen to Lainey in Essex. No, not Lainey in Essex. Who is this? Eileen. Good on your man undercover in Manchester. Good to hear that there are still men in this country. Speaks volume that he's not from there. Yeah, whatever. I think for me, I don't expect there to not be problems in Manchester. But if you stand up and you say, I'm going to end homelessness, I'm going to have a look at your own backyard. No police, nothing. Great piece of work. It's all going to be on YouTube. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So it'll be out on Christian Drogan's platform, which is called Watchmen. So people can see the full footage there in the next few hours, I think. And
also on Talk.
We don't expect everything to be perfect. But the point is, this is right in the heart of Manchester.
Yeah.
It's not somewhere out on the fringes.
No.
And I don't understand why Andy Burnham didn't make clearing up Crackadilly #1 on his agenda. Having that in the heart of your city is an absolute stain on your own record.
This will be on the Talk YouTube channel as well. Now, slightly light-hearted to finish, Isabel, you legend. What was your first ever job? Today we discovered that 75,000 SASTI jobs have been lost under this government. We're asking, what was it? Mine was stacking bananas in M&S for £1.65. Probably Richard Tice's was down the mine in 1834. What was yours?
This is really going to age me because I had a job in a hotel when I was about 14, and I was a chambermaid, as they used to call it, a chambermaid.
Wow.
Can you believe it? Sounds like Victorian now, doesn't it? I'm not that old, folks. But yeah, basically making people's beds, I guess, and cleaning the bathrooms.
But we had to work. So you're going to join us in Talk North, wherever we end up. Lots of lovely suggestions. One person said, why don't you broadcast Monday to Thursday from Heron House so that Andy's number 10 office gets used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? That's interesting. Just to finish, though, this will send you and your man into another planet. A taxpayer-backed arts group, we paid 200 grand for this, have have today announced their findings, which include the fact that teddy bears are trans. Isabel, Care Bears are trans. I just watched Isabel's face. She's about to headbutt the ceiling. How can a teddy bear with no... How does that work?
Just don't come for our bears, please. You know, there's got to be something left that we can just enjoy without
Andrew
sexualising.
Mountbatten Windsor's going to be annoyed, isn't he? He's got about 800 of them. Isabel, we love you. Thank you. She's on holiday, but she works like a dog. We really appreciate it. And all that stuff will be out on Kristen Drogon's channel and also Talk's YouTube channel. Great, great footage there from Manchester, courtesy of the legend Isabel Oakeshott. 9:25. Morning, Helen.
I'm a patriot. I want this country to succeed and thrive, and I want the people that live within it to also succeed and thrive. I've never voted Labour in my life. I can't see a point where I ever will, but I will be happy to be proven wrong in this instance. I do hope Andy Burnham turns out to be a force of good for this country. I hope he makes the positive changes that I hope to see. And I hope, more than anything, we start to feel some real prosperity being returned to this country. I want him to get behind our businesses. I want him to get behind growth. I don't think any of it's going to happen, but like I say, I will be first in the queue to congratulate him if he proves me wrong.
Couldn't agree more. 9:26. Just Laney in Essex. I'd like to think I would try and stop kids fighting in the street, having watched that jizz, but in reality, I think I'd be too worried they would have knives and I'd be killed. I think that's quite a reality. Talk North is my idea, ladies and gentlemen. It isn't costed, it isn't agreed, there isn't a lease signed, but I want to take Talk to the north of England. Your suggestions have been amazing. We've had the village Fryup, which sits 90 miles west of Whitby in North Yorkshire Moors. We've had Bogglehole in North Yorkshire. We've had Shitterton in Dorset, which is great. If you want Labour MPs to come to your touring show, you must go to Freeby in Leicester, says Mark from Staffordshire North. Jez says Jay in Worcestershire. What about Weir Piddle? Or Wire Piddle, lovely. This is my favourite, though, so far, from Sharon. What about Cockermouth and Lakes? Yeah, live from Cockermouth, Talk North. No, you're joking. What about you doing it from Starlin Road in Colchester? But this has to be my favourite. We're going to have to go to a break because I'm going to get sacked. Pamela says, what about Knob End in Bolton? Welcome to Talk North, live from Knob End in Bolton. 9:27, back in 3.
Intention to run for a 4th term as President of the United States. I won 3 times, did very well the 2nd time, by the way. It's a rigged election, but we don't have to talk about it.
It's an entire community in their heads, and he knows how to push it and literally send them off. I thought he was actually more restrained last night than we've seen in just his regular speeches. I mean, he's got comedic timing. He is the funniest president we've ever had, and man, he was playing it on all fours last night.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Back 9:30. Alex Phillips here all week for Julia Hartley-Bush is on holiday. Alex Phillips in from 10 o'clock. Ian Collins from 1 and Kev O'Sullivan. Not live from Knob End, live on drive time from 4 o'clock this afternoon. We've decided, bosses have arrived. I'm getting scowled at. We are going to launch Talk North. We want to know where we should launch it, how we should launch it, and how the bloody hell we're going to pay for it, which makes it sound remarkably like Andy Burnham. Jez, who instructed, arranged and paid for the lease in Manchester? If it was Burnham, he had no authority. Paul says, why don't we turn 10 Downing Street for 2 days a week into an HMO? It's not being used. Yeah, why don't we throw in Buckingham Palace? If that was me, I'd hire an office next to number 10 North so you can get more Labour MPs in your programme and generally be closer to the action. I'm sure you'll hear more whispers. Keep up the good work. Says Ben. I'm determined to do this. We'll probably end up in some kitchen in Bolton, albeit. Let's say a very good morning to the ex-political editor of The Sun. He likes to laugh, but he's spot on every day. Trevor Kavanagh, good morning.
Good morning, Jeremy.
I'm thinking of creating Talk North, Trevor. I've been asking for suggestions, only because if one scratches beneath the surface... Have you heard about this timeline of when this was done? Have you heard this?
No, tell me.
May the 11th... Manchester City Council agrees to lease the second-floor Heron House. 3 days later, out of the blue, Josh Simons resigned as MP for Makerfield, paving the way for Burnham to stand as an MP. 10th of June, 8 full days before the by-election, Manchester City Council confirms Heron House lease and agreement. The reason people have started digging, Trev, is that within 5 days, well, 4 days of being PM, number 10 North was open, complete with contracts, furnishing, services, security, a logo, printed sign and banners, and he had his first official meeting there. How long has this coup, and quite a lot of detail, taken place? And what if he hadn't won the election?
Yeah, good point about the election. It wasn't always nailed on, although it became so. Yeah, this has been in the plotting theme for at least 12 months, and Josh Simons' decision to step down was carefully calibrated and will be justly rewarded when he comes into a cushy number somewhere in the government. And, you know, Wes Streeting has been part of that campaign, and the resignation of John Healey as Defence Secretary was calibrated along with all of that. And everything has been planned. I mean, what we're seeing here is a very deep, long and enduring plot, which I think will come back to haunt this government as the remaining Starmerites get their revenge.
Do you think Starmer had any idea as to the depth of the plot?
I doubt that. I think that he would have known for sure that Burnham was plotting and that his acolytes were digging his grave for him, I mean Starmer's. But I don't think that they would have known. In fact, one of the things that's come out of this change of government is, in fact, the watertight nature of the Burnham regime. Nobody had a clue who was going to be the new Chancellor, including, I think, Dennis Healey. I keep calling him Dennis.
John Healey.
I don't think he knew for sure, and certainly Shabana Mahmood had very high hopes that she was going to get it.
It's really interesting for me. Because of your experience, I want to throw this at you. And I started the show at 6 o'clock saying this, but there is a caveat, so wait for me. I am a patriot. I want my country to succeed. I hate where we've become internationally and domestically. He has, over the last week, proven that he does politics brilliantly, far better than Keir Starmer. Not that the level was very, very high. My concern is that when you throw out, you know, cheaper buses and VAT off energy bills, and I'm going to crack down on youth sickness benefits, and I'm going to deal with teen anxiety, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, although no mention of the boats, I know that a lot of people who aren't perhaps invested in politics are going to swallow that up and go, oh, this is absolutely fantastic. The fact is, other institutions have had a go at us and other people and said, oh, you're all negative, all you're doing is talking about how much it's costing. Yeah, we are. And so will the Sun newspaper, because the British public are fed up to the back teeth paying so much tax, and it needs to be called out, doesn't it, Trevor? Because it doesn't add up at all.
No, absolutely right. And I think we've moved. It's very lucky for Andy Burnham to have a predecessor who was so wooden and inarticulate. He had no oratory whatsoever. And here's a guy who's an English graduate from one of the Oxbridge universities, and he is able to look, by comparison, a very articulate prime minister. But I think that one of the images that I think is beginning to build is that he looks a bit glib. So he's promising all sorts of things which look superficially very attractive, nicely wrapped, but actually the boxes contain very little. So I think that it won't be until he starts to deliver that people will be able to judge him. And I think, as Isabel Oakeshott said a few moments ago, what's happening in Manchester shows that he very much failed to deliver on the homelessness promises that he's made so much of in his opening remarks here as the new Prime Minister. I
see our job really strongly as not being negative about the sentiment, but we have to be absolutely on how it's going to be spent. Today he says, I'm going to crack down on youth sickness benefits in an effort to reduce the country's ridiculous 333 billion welfare bill. Well, that's absolutely fantastic. That's on the day it comes discovered that being off work through teen anxiety pays more than being at work. It's bloody ludicrous. But, you know, let's be honest, Starmer tried to take 5 billion, Trev, off 333 billion. There was a massive, massive rebellion. He didn't cut any. How's Andy Burnham going to change that?
Well, he's not. I mean, look, the Labour Party, I don't think, will wear any significant cut in welfare. And it's not just in the private sector where people are not working. The public sector is not working. We've discovered today that the amount of sick leave taken by the average civil servant is very nearly 2 weeks every year, which is basically a holiday. People see it as an entitlement. They tell each other, you haven't had your sick leave yet, have you? And they have to go off and fulfill that. So, you know, these are the sort of things we're taking for granted, not just in the private sector, but across the public sector. And the first duty beyond the defense of the nation of any prime minister is to cut this enormous £1 trillion national debt.
And you're not going to do that by promising. I mean, listen, as far as I'm concerned, however glossy or non-glossy this is, it will result in taxes going up in the budget, and that will be the reality. But of course, right now, and you know this from your experience, Parliament isn't sitting, so he hasn't got to justify to anybody. He's not being questioned. There's no scrutiny. The BBC and most mainstream media are blowing smoke where the sun don't shine every day. And it's left to the rest of us to say, hold on a minute, it might sound great, but how the hell are you going to pay for it? Because, Trevor, I said this all morning, you'll know this far more than me. Every single Labour Party that goes to government, in the end, they run out of everybody else's money, don't they?
Well, they already have. And in fact, I was wrong to say 1 trillion. I think it's 3 trillion. National debt. What Andy Burnham is trying to do right now, despite his denial to Laura Kuenssberg over the weekend, is to prepare the ground for an early general election. Yeah. He said there is no plan for a general election. Well, that's the nearest thing to saying there will be a plan for a general election. And he's already beginning to move the goalposts by changing the electoral system so that we have either PR or compulsory voting or postal voting, which desperately needs reform because it is corrupt, and we've got voting for under 16s. These are all fiddling with the system so that as and when if he does call a general election, which I do think is a possibility, he will have all the cards stacked in his favour.
Do you think if there is a general election he'd win? I read today, or I saw today, that the Greens have lost 10 points. Finally, the public have worked out what Dave Polanski's all about, but they're probably rowing in behind him. The right still split. There's a few issues with the reform. Obviously, the Conservative Party is still toxic to millions, despite Kemi's standing. Do you think he's got the balls to go, right, I'm going to go for a 30 or 40 majority myself. I'll have to trade 110 MPs. I don't actually care because I'd have my own mandate.
Well, that is the big question. Is he prepared to slaughter a large slice of his backbench? And frankly, if he's any sort of leader at all, that is irrelevant to him. He simply wants another full term in office. And I think that he will see these things that you just spelled out. First of all, the Greens have fallen back. Nigel Farage is in some considerable difficulty over the way that he is financing his party and the friends he keeps. And Kemi Badenoch, who is going great guns, needs a little more time. the longer she has as opposition leader, I think the more of a threat she is to Labour. And that's what he will take into account.
Couldn't agree with you anymore. Before you go, what was your... This is because we discovered today nearly 75,000 SASTI jobs have been lost under Labour. What was your first ever job, TK? What was it?
A paper round, a butcher's round and a grocer's round, all in the same week.
See, we used to have to graph. Now we'd be full of anxiety because we had to get up early. You're a legend. Trevor Kavanagh, thank you. Rob, good morning.
Moving to Manchester makes no difference to me. The job will still be done the same. The guy did a mediocre job, I believe, in Manchester. I've watched him lie already about homelessness. It got worse. And he did make the buses run on time and make the buses cheaper, but so what? You're bringing it now to the world level of running a country. It's a different thing altogether. I don't think he's capable. He doesn't have the means, and he certainly doesn't have the back stuff. So we need to prepare ourselves, because most people here are leaning to the right, and they're not going to be Burnham fans. But the bloke, he's going to get a chance, and I just don't think he's up to it, I'm afraid. So let's see, yeah?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. So much of today's been about talk. Well, it's actually been about number 10 North. So we've decided, and I have been called into the boss's office, so we'll see. But anyway, Talk North. I want to launch Talk North. Where am I going to launch Talk North? How am I paying for it? And when should it start? Sharon in Northamptonshire, how about setting up in Little Cockup or Great Cockup, which is in Cumbria? Talk North live from Little Cockup. That would be great. You could split the week, says... Really? Philip in Dorset. Broken wind in Aberdeenshire and Scratchy Bottom in Dorset. Imagine doing it live from Scratchy Bottom. Ronald Wood in Newcastle upon Tyne. How about Old Man Bottom in Northumberland? It's really in the north anyway. Old Man's Bottom. Heron House up north. The whole thing smells fishy to me, says Frank in Buckinghamshire. Very good. You lot are amazing this morning. Alan in Morpeth. Hi, Jez. Great idea for the show. How about bog houses in Northumberland? Live from bog houses. Talk North, says Tony. Hilarious today, Jez. And what about Spittle in the Street? It's just a place north of Lincoln. Talk North live from Spittle in the Street this Friday morning. Jeremy, Pratt's Bottoms in Kent, says Stephen in London. Oh, my God. Regarding a potential Talk North, the town of Tork in Stoke-on-Trent Midlands would be perfect for you, Jez. Samara Gill could travel on the £2 buses interviewing local criminals like the cannabis smokers who get on them every single day. Jeremy, do they actually ask... This is ridiculous. This story, sorry. We paid 200 grand as taxpayers to an arts group to do to sort of have a look at what was going on in the world, and they've decided that some teddy bears are trans. I know. Tony in Marchwood says, did they actually ask the teddy bears? Did the teddy bears have gender? No, we're not going there. Right, it's 9:45. Alex Phillips here from 10. I do try very hard to balance, and I loved having this man on last time. He's the Labour mayor of York and North Yorkshire. David Skaith, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Well, I'm all right, but I have a few questions for you, Skatey, to be honest, because I found out a couple of things. You're one of them bloody Labour mayors, so you'd know. Within 5 days of being made Prime Minister last week, Andy Burnham had announced number 10 in North, and within 4 days, he was holding his first meeting there. There were contracts signed, furnishing, services, security, a logo, printed images and banners. It was absolutely all done, so we did a bit of digging. On the 11th of May... a full 7 weeks before the by-election, Manchester City Council agreed to lease second floor Heron House. Contact not named. On the 14th of May, just 3 days later, Josh Simmons, strangely, just resigned, allowing Andy Burnham to stand, just saying. 10th of June, 8 days before the election, he's smiling, Skatey. Manchester City Council confirms that Heron House lease agreement. Now, we'll talk about Andy Burnham in a minute. I just wanted to say, this has been bloody planned for ages, man, hasn't it?
I mean, I don't know about that, but what I would say is I think there's been so much made about this story about having number 10 in the north. And by the way, Jeremy, if you are looking for a place, how about York? But I think in terms of, there was nowhere near this much noise made when Rishi Sunak opened the economic campus up in the northeast a couple of years ago. No. That's about taking power, that's about taking civil servants, it's about taking Whitehall basically out of London and actually spreading it around the region. So when that was announced a few years ago, there was nowhere near as much noise made about it.
But if there is Darlington, why did Burnham have to do another one in Manchester then?
Because the opportunity to take even more powers out of Whitehall, particularly have a focus on devolution. That's my reading of the meeting that when I was there last Friday with all the other mayors and with Andy, was about actually how we can really fast forward and turbocharge devolution. Because as mayors and devolved areas, we have seen it hasn't been working as well as it should and it could be. And that's the opportunity we have here. And having a focus with MHCLG and having those powers and responsibilities and civil servants coming out of Whitehall, that's having a real focus on that.
Did that mayor's meeting talk about something I read at the weekend? Are you mayors, and I note 2 reform mayors were there as well, Luke Campbell and Andrew Jenkins. Are you going to be offered by this Prime Minister under the guise, or not guise, under the plan of devolution? Are you going to get actual tax revenue from central government to spend as you want to spend it?
There's been talks for a while about how fiscal devolution could work. So something about business rates retention, for example, or with the visitor levy as well that many of the mayors have been pushing for. So the next steps of devolution is looking at fiscal devolution and how, particularly around business rates retention, if we are seen as mayors to grow our businesses in our region, how can we retain some of that tax in our region so then we can reinvest that into our areas to really grow? Because so much, and this is the problem we found with devolution and with London and the South East, is so much has been overboiled in the same areas. So areas like mine up in the north, up in the northeast, up into the northwest, and other areas all around the country have been left behind because it's been the easy play is to invest in London and the South East.
Okay, next question. That's
to have that focus all around the country, and that's how we're going to get the growth everywhere. And that's where we get previously heavy industrialised areas such as the northeast, such as the northwest, have been ignored and have been left behind.
Okay, I don't deny that. Just 2 questions, not being cynical, because I think it's our job to do this. I think we have to have this discussion, which is why we have all sides on. Cynics would say, not mayorally, is there a word? A lot of councils, whatever their political setup, have messed up massively and are billions in debt and haven't done a job. I can think Maidenhead, down in where I was, Windsor and Maidenhead are completely skint. You think of Birmingham. If you give mayors, right, this is my question, if you give 20 mayors fiscal responsibility, you're the Prime Minister, this is my issue with it, but I haven't even mentioned this to Christian, and you've got a policy. What if you've got a mayor of a different political persuasion who goes completely against what you want to do for his local area? Is Andy Burnham's plan of devolution, does that allow a Conservative mayor, a Reform mayor, a Green mayor, whatever bloody mayors there are, to do what they think, or has he got to work within the auspices of the government?
Well, that's what you have now. You have Labour mayors, you have Reform mayors, and and that's how it works now. A combined authority, a mayoral combined authority, which is essentially what it is made up of the local authorities. So, for example, in York and North Yorkshire, I have a very conservative North Yorkshire and a Labour York, and they make up my combined authority, and I can only make decisions in partnership with them. So I can't do things into North Yorkshire without their agreement, but I also wouldn't want to. It's about working what's right for the region. I think that's where devolved areas and mayors have had success, is the fact that you are there to represent your place, not the political party. I've had 2 or 3 occasions where I've come out against the Labour Party in recent times around things that will have an impact on my region, and I've got to stand up for that region, and that's what I've done. But it's also about bringing the 2 combined authorities, in my case, on that journey with them to actually show that agreement, because that's how you're going to get things delivered. We are there to deliver. If we are fighting all the time with our local authorities, we're not going to get anything
So
done.
if you as the mayor of York and North Yorkshire were told to do it under this plan of him devolving responsibility, if you were told or advised to do something and you felt that was against the people that elected you, you would stand tall, even though you're a Labour mayor, against this government?
I have done already, you know, on several occasions, because it is about doing what's right for your region. That is absolutely imperative, and that's what we've done. So, and that's where mayors really work well, and that's when you bring your local authorities on. You have to do it in partnership. If not, you will fail and you will not achieve anything, and then that is such a waste. Just another point on this, though, which is really, really important, which Andy did raise on Friday, is mayors are only as good as their local authorities are funded. Yep. So, for example, York is one of the worst funded local authorities in the country, has been for a very long period of time. So many local authorities have been terribly funded. That's through 15 years of austerity cuts, which we spoke about last time. I'm only as good as delivering and getting things happening as local authorities are funded. And that's the challenge we are facing. So much more now of local authorities' spend goes on things like child services and adult services, which is why we see things like our potholes aren't being repaired and all the rest of it, because there hasn't been the funding to actually do those extra things.
David, so just talking funding, because
local authorities.
Dave, I love having you on. Final question. And a couple of outlets go, at Talk and other stations and other newspapers, you're being cynical. You should applaud Andy Burnham. I started the show by saying I'm a patriot, I want my country to work. I do think it is our duty, though, as broadcasters, to point out absolutely where and how this is going to be paid. I'm not throwing at you this personally, I'm throwing it out. We all know that most Labour governments end up with no money. I'm not complimenting the Tories, let's keep it to Labour. I like some of what he's announced, but I'm not stupid. How in the name of God is he going to pay for all of this? For example, today, very quickly, youth sickness benefits, good. Reduce some of the welfare benefits bill, 333 million, good. But the reality is Starmer couldn't even get a $5 billion cut past the Parliamentary Labour Party. How is Andy Burnham going to do that, apart from being a nice guy? Genuine question.
Well, first and foremost, on anything around youth services, supporting our young people, the problem has been, and I think I touched this last time, is our education system and our skills system have not been lined up. So currently, mayors have post-19 adult skills funding. So we basically support 19-year-olds into education. Andy has been pushing hard for post-16 education. The fact then that we can work with people at a younger age to make sure they are on the right path from a younger age. So not everyone has been funneled down the having to go to a university route. Actually opening up people to much more opportunities when they are younger, so we can align our skills strategy and our young people into the economy and actually into work. At the minute, we are expecting young people to basically finish education and then just fall straight into a job. It's not as easy as that. We have to have that process much more lined up, and that's where Andy's been pushing for a long time about post-16 education.
Is he going to raise taxes in the? Is he going to raise taxes in the budget?
I've got no idea.
And also, final question, because I like you. A taxpayer-backed arts group today announced that teddy bears can be trans. David Skaith?
Just a ridiculous story to be talked about, Jeremy. Come on, you are far better than this.
I love you, Scathy. Listen, thank you, and I mean it. As long as I'm sat here, we will be looking at all sides, and I know you care passionately about York and North Yorkshire. You made the point then that you would stand against a government or whatever party to do right by your people, and we might well take you up. Talk North might well come from York. You're a legend. Thank you very much indeed. If you are listening, Alex Phillips is here from 10 all day. We've been saying Talk North. Where shall I set it up? Big Rob went to the loo and missed my call. Call him. We've something to ask you, Big Rob, on the show. No voice note. We'll go to a break. Back in 3.
to be here with you all in the heart of Manchester this Friday morning at the end of, you know, a fairly big week. Is just everything to me.
If I have to watch one more saccharine video of him pulling a pint or talking about his favourite bar snacks with John Healey, whatever mawkish, minimalising, utterly moronic, stupid bit of social media tidbit they're trying to throw to us, you know, the sugar to help the Marxist medicine go down.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just before, we talked about Christian Drogan, who works with Isabel, that Talk exclusive on his undercover work on Manchester Piccadilly Gardens. We should say that the local council currently tackles rough sleeping through its homelessness strategy. Manchester City Council have been approached for comment. I'm almost out of time. Let's go to the north. I want to launch Talk North. I don't know where, I don't know how I'm going to afford it. Rob's in Newcastle. Morning, kidder.
Good morning, mate. How are you this morning?
I'm all right, but I want to bring Talk. Forget Andy Burnham. I want to bring Talk North. I'm thinking, I hope you don't mind, what about your garden? Could we do it from your garden?
Oh, listen, son. I've just built a new house. The garden's enormous. You'd fit right in. We can use the garage. You can even use my swimming pool while you're here.
So we could do the show, have a barbecue and then a swim. Talk North. Yes. Talk North, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of Rob Armstrong, the legend, will be coming in the... How are we getting there? Can you send the jet, Rob?
I'll send the jet. I mean, Andy might be using it that day, but if he's not, you can have it.
Good man. Thank you, Rob Armstrong. Essential to everything you need, has just guaranteed that Talk North will launch at some point soon, live from his garden, which is bigger than London. We will get there in his private jet. Sod the friends of the earth, and after we've done the show, we'll go for a swim and a sauna and have a barbecue. It's all going on. That has been another edition. Is she not coming in, Alex Phillips? Does she not know the rules? She's not coming in. What? Why is she? Morning, Andrew. Morning.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Andrew here in Halifax. There's something very, very strange going on here. If you Google number 10 North in Ancoats in Manchester, you'll find that the government has already acquired a site and has started preparatory building work on that site for a permanent base for number 10 North. How have they managed to do that? Pick a site, secure planning permission and begin building work in the 2 weeks that Andy Burnham's been in power. Also, if you look at the lease on the